This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
It's decision time, NASCAR fans. Who gets you the points? Who gets you the wins? Who gets you the bragging rights? Who gets you the championship? Sign up and play today at NASCAR.com/fantasy.
Motor Speedway, we kick off the second half of this 2019 regular season of the eNASCAR Pecan-Freeze iRacing Series, where a championship favorite has started to pull away, while other title contenders find themselves on the outside of the top 8, still looking in. We'll get underway for the longest race of 2019 in just a few moments. However, before we do so, we recap all the action from 2 weeks ago from Kansas in this week's iRacing Race Recap.
The road to $100,000 stops at the Kansas Speedway, where we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to round number 7 of the 2019 eNASCAR Pecan-Freeze iRacing Series. At the Kansas Speedway, the pace car is pulling in. We are getting ready to go green, and Keegan Leahy is already gone.
Laps. I think these guys know it's a long race. You don't want to get too crazy, but as I say that, the Interstate Batteries number 18 of Bobby Blinsky looks up top, making it 3 abreast at the head of the field.
We've got a caution in the middle of the pack. You just saw it at the top of your screen. And Team Dillon Esports number 33 of Ben Nelson. Tough break for him early.
Oh, they're piled up.
And there's Keegan Leahy sideways, and behind them, they're going to stack them up, and looks like we're going to bring out another caution flag. Little damage there to the 20 of Jake Nichols on the caution flag. Will fly in behind them, though. Got one up in the wall. There's the 7 to low, and is that Luza?
The 53 gets demolished in a huge wreck. Definitely gets a bigger piece of that than we saw the 62 get in the previous one, but so that's going to have championship implications, and I believe the 62 is able to get through there. No love lost between Roush and Wood Brothers, it would appear here. 3 abreast across the stripe for your race leader. 700ths of a second between first and third. That trip through. It's going to be the 6 of Zach Novak. He made his way towards the head of the field, down along the bottom through 1 and 2.
These two battle for what would be the leader off the pit cycle, and it's going to go to the 6 of Zach Novak. Currently on the racetrack, the battle for position number 9. Hold on, and how about this battle for third? These guys are letting it all hang out. The 30 of Blake Reynolds to the inside, Nick Ottinger to the outside, and Michael Guest wants to be a part of this as well.
And turn it into a three-car scrap. Now across start finish, they will come. The 30 gets to the inside of Nick Ottinger. So Ottinger's going to let Blake Reynolds get that low line. I think it should be Blake's best opportunity to slide up in front of the 47. That's exactly what he's going to do.
But he's not going to be able to get there coming out of corner number 4. It's going to be Zach Novak winning at the Kansas Speedway. Garrett Lowe going to come home in position number 2. Blake Reynolds.
The road to $100,000 speeds through the Queen City, where tonight for the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to round 8 of the 2019 eNASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series. As always, we're so happy that you're joining us on a Tuesday night on RaceSpot TV and the iRacing Esports Network, where alongside of myself, Evan Pasoko, I'm joined by Tim Terry and Randy Chen at the booth. And Tim, as we alluded to right off at the top, halfway home in the regular season. So as the points continue to come into focus, these races are going to get more critical week by week.
We're going to start looking at that top 8 when it comes to the championship standings. We're going to look at that top 20 bubble when it comes to locking into this series for next year. But still, lots of racing to accomplish. As you mentioned, still halfway to dig out of that hole. And you can see it on your screen. That top 20 bubble is the bubble to lock yourself into this series for next year. That top 8 bubble, you want to get in there so you can vie for the championship in 2019. So lots to talk about as we go through these next 7 races. But lots to talk about here. You mentioned Ryan Luza. That's a big gap back to second.
And not only does he sit 61 points ahead of the cut line, but Randy, that is also 40 points ahead of Keegan Leahy. And then the next closest driver right there in third is Zach Novak. So really, aside from the 53 at the very top of the mountain there, things are still very tight. You look at the names just outside of the cut line for the playoffs, the top 8. Zelensky, only 2 out. Jake Nichols, only 7 out. If you're on the right-hand side of your screen, though, and you start to get into those red numbers, that's where you start to get concerned, because not only is A, your main priority, getting the top 8 and race for a championship and playoffs this season, but B, you want to be top 20 in points to stay locked in to this eNASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series for next year. And there are big names on that side, including Schoenberg, Alfala, and Clampett. There is still a lot of time to go. You had 7 races to dig a hole. Starting tonight, you have 7 races to dig yourself out of that hole as we get set for the playoffs later on this season. But that is certainly not a position any of those drivers, I think, would have wanted to, nor maybe thought they would be in at this point.
I mean, like you said, there's a lot of competitive names on the right-hand side of the list, people that have led laps this season. So things are very, very tight up and down the championship. But some interesting names and some standout names. I think Jake Nichols, only 7 points out of the top 8 drop-off this deep in the season. I know he was, when the draft happened earlier in the year, a lot of people were surprised by that pick from Joe Gibbs and that Joe Gibbs Racing. But that 20 car has really stood out this season as maybe one of the best rookies on the year. So Jake Nichols, I think props to him. Bobby Zelensky's also done well. He's not been one of those drivers that's always at the front fighting for wins, but I think that driver, that number 18 car, probably been the most consistent driver, I think, all season.
And coming off of a race win last week at Kansas, Zach Novak picks up some points to sit third there. That was his second win on the season. He joins Ryan Luza as the only other driver to be a multi-time winner this season. Of course, courtesy of that win, as it has been all season, picks up a $500 prize. Again, the $850 purse, again in effect tonight. $500 to our race winner, $250 to second, and $100 to third. It is, though, the longest race of the season. You can't be all that surprised by it, Tim, though. The Charlotte Motor Speedway has been on the track, or on our schedule, I should say, for eons, and almost every single time it is a 200-lap contest, which is exactly what we see tonight.
9 years of this series. We've had 10 races here, twice back in the inaugural year back in 2010, where the season finale was held here, and it was 167 laps. Every other race has been 200 laps in length as we get ready to set this grid. And 10 races, 10 different winners. Do we add an 11th here this evening?
We'll see if these drivers are going to be able to outlast this. It may be a new-looking Charlotte Motor Speedway as well for the last time we saw it since the Roval came to the iRacing service, which is there in the playoff schedule later this year, second to last race of the season on September the 24th. So it is an all-new Charlotte Motor Speedway. Comes with some unique quirks. There's pit wall down in Turn 4, which will make pit stops real interesting tonight. We are also starting, as you see, and looking at Turn 3 with the sun beginning to set. It is going to race into the evening tonight for the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway, and we are set to go racing. So let's go trackside. Take a look at a Race Spot TV starting grid. Pole position to Chris Shearburn for Letarte Esports. Puts down the best time, barely edging out Keegan Leahy. The G2 entry will start from second position. Just behind them, Bobby Zelensky, Christian Challenger share row number 2. They'll be third and fourth respectively, and Michael Guerrilla just behind them. The 3-car rolls from P5.
Blake Reynolds has been a model of consistency the last few weeks. He'll roll off from 6th, Kane Cook in 7th, Ashton Crowder in 8th, Michael Guest 9th, and Adam Benefield. Great run for the independent to 10th.
Brad Davies does well also, puts himself in the 11th spot with Nathan Lyon in 12th. Malik Ray in 13th. Logan Clampett, we saw him last night just across U.S. Route 29 at the dirt track at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the World of Outlaws and Authentic Sprint Cars. He'll rolled off 14th with Kaser Kerwin rounding out your top 15.
16th right there as well. That is the 27 Corey Vincent, Michael Conti, Matt Boost, the next duo. That'll be 17th and 18th on the grid. And back on row 10, you got the 46 of Jimmy Mullis. What a mini cars, sporting some stars and stripes tonight. Some patriotic paint schemes ahead of Memorial Day weekend. Zach Novak to his right-hand side, slated to roll off from P20. I don't see, though, Novak on the grid right now.
Look at this next row, guys. Nick Ottinger and Ray Alfala, row 11. That is big. Logan Kress, Cody Bias, your next row with Taylor Hurst, your top 25.
And then through the rest of the field, 26, you have Jarl Tien, Garrett Lowe, Chris Overland, Dylan Duvall, and Brandon Cattell rounding out your top 30. Rest of your starters cycling through on screen.
So as we are doubled up and waiting for the pace car to dive down to the pit lane, we talk about the tail of the tape. 200 laps around this 1.5-mile speedway. 24 degrees of banking to get us on through, but it does mean that we are going to racing tonight, top to bottom, 300 miles of action right here on Race Spot TV and the iRacing Esports Network. The pace car down to the safety of the pit lane, and it is going to be the Chris Shearburn Chevrolet that brings us to it. Let's go racing from Charlotte. Round number 8 is underway.
Shearburn going to hop out to that lead. Keegan Leahy going to try to find a spot in the line here. He will. Top 3 will quickly get single file. And Chalner on the outside trying to roll the top. Gariglia going to roll into position number 4. Kane Cook on the inside. Adam Benefield trying to make it happen. And Evan, we're going to see some 2x2 racing here in the opening laps of this one as Leahy now hops to the outside to try to bring that outside line up to the lead.
A look back off at the top spot aside from Shearburn, who's going to lead this opening lap. They are 2x2 throughout the top 10, probably more tightly condensed than they were when they actually came to take that green flag. But with this package, as you see, slow down on the apron, it looks like Diaz and Novak, 2 cars who missed the start, already a lap down. You saw them slow, and there's an on-board shot for Diaz. He's going to have to let the field go. But one change from when we were on the grid, in fact, Randy, the sun now has gone behind the grandstands. We're in the shade. A little bit cooler temps, a little bit more grip. And with this package, these drivers are going to be pushing flat out for the entirety of about the opening 10 laps.
These guys are going to have it easy because it starts so far into the darkness here. It's already going to be relatively cool on track, so it's not like you have to go from a really hot track temp down to a cool one as the 62 gets a push from the 2 of Kane Cook up top, and that's going to put Keegan Lee for a moment just about into the race lead, but not quite going to be able to drop down in front of the 36 at Shearburn. But as we get deeper into this race, that sun is going to get lower and lower, and that track temp is just going to fall more and more. As the 6 of Novak, he's actually going to maintain lead lap status, but he's going to be basically at the head of the field here in not too long.
It'll be a combination of the sun going down, temps going down, and as well, some rubber getting put down on track as well. Look at the third line now for the 2 of Kane Cook. He started in 7th position and is not content with riding second in line for the race lead. He will stay behind Leahy for the moment. who continues to stay glued to the right-hand side of your race leader, Chris Shearburn from pole. No big changes inside of the top 10. Adam Benefiel has picked up 3, going from 10th to 7th. But other than that, it's almost like everybody has stayed in their lane from the start. Literally, everybody on the inside, on the outside, your top 19 cars that last time through, separated by less than 1 second.
Little bit of shifting there as Christian Chalner goes to the inside and comprises the inside of row number 3 as they come across the stripe. This time Shearburn will have the advantage up in front. But a little bit of jockeying for position here about the middle of this pack, Evan, but everybody else content to ride right now. Shearburn gets the sole possession. The lead hops up to the outside at a corner number 2 and leaves the inside for Bobby Zielinski. Looked like Keegan Leahy thought about going to the inside, was not clear, has to keep up to that outside line, but Shearburn right now flexing his muscle a little bit out in front. He'll come by and lead lap number 6.
He does. He gets a little bit of space, and of course, as we get into the run, and these drivers are going to have to start to feather off that throttle and it eventually completely lift like it was the older package. You will start to see that separation, clean air, very critical for the 36, I should say. But it does make it difficult for him to get completely away. He'll get a couple of car lengths here or there, but I don't think he's really going to pull away until you get about 10, 15, 20 laps into a run where you'll really see who's got a race car that can compete on the long run. Not all that far either ahead of our race leaders right now. I talked about one of the cars that missed the grid in this one. We already saw Phil Diaz lose his lead lap. However, Zach Novak, who also missed the start,
oh, they're piling up behind. Multiple cars on the apron in 1 and 2.
Yeah, no caution, though. We're going to stay green. They scattered. It was the number 24 car, a Cody Bias. You can see the Mode Motorsports entry on the replay there. Sideways contact. That was Luza down on the apron, and those drivers do a fantastic job of hanging on. So did everybody else behind them who rolled out of the throttle as to not run them over.
Yeah, it was a fantastic save, and I mean, we've been talking about this championship and how tight it is. I mean, it's 40 points for Luza. It would have been even bigger if he didn't have a bad week at Kansas last time out. Now he comes out and gets damage early again tonight. So for Ryan Luza, who the first handful of races of this championship has been so strong, starting to get the short stick on a little bit of luck here. So for Ryan Luza, going to be an uphill battle for the longest race of the season.
One of those concerns when you're racing in such a big pack, Tim, that you can see a checkup like that and there's just nowhere to go. It's kind of that super speedway mentality of, if I'm in this pack, you better hope nothing goes wrong, because there are very little options to get up and out of the way. On board we go with Kress on the inside line. He's really one of the only drivers down low. Mo drivers starting to go up to the higher side as they get longer into this run. Going to be harder for those cars down low to rotate. But I mean, even up here still, everybody tightly packed together, more than 11 laps off of the green flag.
And as you can see, the top 5, top 6 or so have separated themselves from the rest of the pack. And then you have this side-by-side battling going on about 6th or 7th on back, and everybody trying to figure out where they want to run. But as you mentioned, it's still early in the race for a guy like Ryan Luza or Cody Bias. They have some opportunity to try to gain that back. Longest race of the season that we're running here this evening. So a little bit of time to try to get back what you might have lost. But I think Randy mentioned it too. Keegan Leahy last week had a bad race, as did Ryan Luza, so there really wasn't a whole lot of gain or loss there in between those two. You really have to capitalize on your opportunities. So if Ryan Luza does have a bad night, Keegan Leahy and Zach Novak and the rest really need to make sure that they capitalize on it. Keegan Leahy doing the best right now, albeit early, sitting in second.
And just to finish that point I was talking about with Diaz and Novak before we saw the chaos in turn 2, well, Diaz lost the lead lap. Zach Novak did not. He is still on the lead lap. The last car, in fact, scored there in 38th position. He's 27 seconds behind your race leaders, or about 10 car lengths in front of your race leaders. So Shearburn is going to very shortly catch up to Novak. If the intervals stay as they are, they slowly start to balance out. Certainly the 16 would very much like a yellow flag to be able to stay on the lead lap, because right now he is way off again from missing the grid. 37 of our 39 cars tonight were there. It was Diaz and Novak who were not. But Tim pointed it out there, Andy, your top 3, 4 now starting to stretch things out. You still have that 2-3 tenths per car where we're looking right now. This is pretty much 5th position on back these fights. The Donnie Logan Clampett there for 9th spot, trying to hold the inside. Kane Cook on the outside, who gained a lot of spots early, has now slid back to P7 where he started. But this is the middle of the pack where it's going to be a lot more difficult to get away Your race leaders, though, have now single filed out, and they're looking to lock into a long run to open up this 200-lap contest.
It definitely seems like it, but a couple cars that are still being feisty are actually the teammates, the 77 of Ashton Crowder and 99 of Logan Clampett. They're side by side, and several times the 77 car has pushed that 2 on the outside of Kane Cook. Now he'll drop behind his teammate because they come off a 4 and down through the quad oval, and now he's going to use the front bumper on his teammate in the 99. So Clampett getting a little bit of assistance to help clear the number 2 Ford Fusion. Kane's a little bit loose up top, but Logan will just about get clear as they slide off a 2.
You can see the 27 just struggled to be able to keep it down on the inside line, so that will allow the 2 of Kane Cook to get up and through, and he tucks up in line ahead of the 8 of Michael Conti. Started in 17th position. He runs in 11th right now, just ahead of the 4 and Nathan Lyon, who runs exactly where he started in the 12th spot. In fact, Conti wants another. He's on the attack to the inside of the 20, or the inside of the 77, I should say, of Ashton Crowder there. He will get that spot also. So Conti, to make up for a lackluster Q effort in the Junior Motorsports Camaro, he now breaks his way into the top 10 first time tonight.
Great run early for that filter time car. The 2 cars that I've been watching, though, Evan, early in this one, it's hard to watch everything as you see Michael Conti go to the inside and try to make that move on Ashton Crowder. We mentioned row number 11. You had Nick Ottinger and Ray Alfala starting back outside the top 20 this evening. It seems like they've had magnets in between them. You see them there on your screen. Every time Ray makes a spot, Nick Ottinger seems to follow him through and pick up that same position. So keep an eye on these 2 here as Ottinger gets a run at a corner number 2 to the back bumper of Ray Alfala. They are currently up to 14th and 15th place respectively, so they have made some gains. As you mentioned, Evan, a little bit harder in the mid-pack to try to make these moves, but they're coming to the front of the field as quickly as they can, and it seems like they're lockstep in doing so.
And that is exactly what you want to get off an early going. Certainly does not want to start a race for the back, but if there, I guess, is any single race, Randy, where you're going to have ample opportunities to come back from qualifying deep, it is going to be the only 300-mile contest of the season. And it is hard to keep an eye on all of the action. We'll give you the wider looks at some of the fights. This one sees the number 21 of Bashida Alfala fighting with Ottinger still inside of the top 15 right now. And it is the 21 car on the inside line trying to make all of this work. Looks like the 46 top side of the position will go to Alfala. Mullis going to tuck back down in line. So surprisingly, I would say 20 laps into the contest that the inside is still a pretty good option if you could make it work. But you can see with the single-filed cars, a much wider arc into the quarter, and some drivers, like the 5 of Busa, just running midway up the track in 3 and 4.
It might be just trying to look for a little bit of dirty air. You'll generally see that in open wheel cars with a lot of downforce. You sort of poke a full nose to the corner to try to keep it clear. But, here you're going to be looking for that clean air as well. It definitely seems like running this package could be good for the tires, as pretty much the entire field, the last couple laps, I don't see any side-by-side first through 38th on the entire racetrack. So everyone gets single file, a little bit of a gaggle actually behind the likes of Garrett Lowe, but for the most part, everyone getting single file here and just wanting to log laps.
Smart idea, as they are very young and into this race, and the statistics for the past here at Charlotte, Tim, would suggest that this is not going to come down to a race of made or blown green flag pit stops. However, there's always a chance that, again, the longer you run under green, things will get spread out. And, of course, anytime we have green flag pit stops, things start to get tight at that point. But, this is not our regular distance. So how does that affect pit strategy and what these teams are eyeing tonight?
It's going to affect a little bit of pit strategy. When you look at the trends to this race, about 8 or 9 cautions is usually what we see. We have seen one race, I believe back in 2012, where we had 3 cautions in the race, but we have seen some of these races play out with long green flag runs almost to the end, and then you have a couple of cautions, and that sets up whoever is out in front can potentially parlay that pit strategy into a win. We saw Alex Warren do it back a few years ago, so it's definitely going to play a little bit into strategy, but right now this race has a green flag look to it, so I'm sure those guys on the top of the pit boxes are crunching the numbers and trying to figure out what happens if a caution flag does fall at a certain time, as you see Nick Ottinger trying to make up another spot on Michael Guest as they run down the back straightaway. He's flying right into line there right ahead of Nathan Lyon, but it's definitely going to change the complexity of this one. It's just a matter of when those caution flags fly. If we have a long green flag run and a couple of cautions at the end, Evan, it's going to make things really interesting.
And up front, a battle for the race lead is on, mainly because your race leaders finally were able to catch up to Zach Novak. Novak is the third car in line there, the orange entry, the number 6. That's not for position. Again, he just got lapped, so that little bit of a pause that it took race leader Chris Shearburn to get around him has kept Keegan Leahy close. You also have the number 18 to Bobby Zelensky, third on track, fourth in this group. So the 6 now becomes the potential lucky dog. If there were to be an incident, that bumps Phil Diaz from that spot, so things get worse for the 75.
Yeah, not a great night, not a great way for this night to start for the 75 of Phil Diaz. Is it Zach Novak still looking in pretty good shape, though? It's going to be interesting to see, actually, if he can sort of tag onto the back of this lead pack, because that number 6 Roush Oscar Mayer car, it really isn't that far off the pace. I mean, it took 26 laps for your race leader Chris Shearburn to reel him in. He really wasn't that far up the racetrack. So that car is definitely quick. Let's just see now if he can hold on to that kind of lead trio. Seems like the answer is going to be no, given the last couple laps, though.
You can see this group side by side, 2 rows deep, with the 8 at Conti on the very inside, the 37 at Challenger up there as well. This is for 4th position on the back. It is a whopping, though, 3+ seconds off for your race leaders. The 99 clamp it awfully tight as we went on board with him there. Very close to slotting up and tagging the 3 of Michael Guerrilla. He seems pretty locked into the outside, trying to follow Challenger through, but then he goes up high and into the dirty stuff in turn 1 and gives the spot right back.
And they continue to duke it out. This is the best run I think the 3 car has had all season long. Great qualifying effort for the 3 team, running up here in the top 6 or so. And now taking a backseat to this battle right in front of him, Michael Conti going to slide up there in front of Challenger and take that position away. Logan Clampett still going to be on the inside, as he'll now have a dancing partner to the outside as they dive it down into corner number 1. There goes that 99 once again back to the inside, trying to get that run, but off the corner. It should give a little momentum back to the 37 as they'll pull even down the back straightaway, and Challenger will have a little bit of an advantage down into 3.
We'll see if the 37 is going to be able to make it work up there on the outside line. Conti trying to break through. Looks like the 8's going to be okay. You're watching all of this off of the back end of his car, and he'll leave the side-by-side behind, but very similar to how your 3 race leaders are able to kind of stay together. Of course, the tall spoiler on these cars allows the driver behind it to kind of suck up a lot easier. It is more difficult to pull away. So you've got a 3-car group up front, a 4-car group behind them, the one we've been following, and you have very similar packs throughout the rest of the field.
Yeah, it's really what we're starting to see. Little bunches of cars form up here. The Gariglia in the 3 is going to pull alongside the 37 of Challenger once again as they go down the front stretch and in towards turn number 1. And Michael's going to pick that spot up pretty easy. I take that back. Christian's going to fight back pretty hard here along the outside. I thought he was going to give it up and just let the 3 cars kind of slide out in front the way he turned into turn 1, but that doesn't seem to be the decision here. As in towards 3, Christian on the outside will hang it out there, and will he be able to get the run here off the top side of the racetrack? Just about gets the momentum he needs, but not quite. Actually, I take that back. He will get clear as they run now in towards 1 once again.
A very valiant effort by the 3-car to stay there. But again, I think it's just a lot more difficult to kind of ride around on the bottom on the white line, or I guess what is now the white and blue line down on the very inside of the racetrack. Still signifies the change from the 24 degrees of banking down at the very flat. And you know, if you got a tight race car, sometimes drivers will go down there, try to hook it up on the bottom, but it certainly looks like high side is trending to be the direction. And that was awfully close to the turn 4 wall that time for Guerrilla. He's not willing to let Challenger go, but this group has now kind of been split in 2. You see on the horizon there, Clampett and Conti have stretched the gap a little bit to half a second over them.
And as we saw this, it was about 3.5 seconds or so, about 10 laps ago, where these guys were behind your top 3, and now they're about 4 seconds behind. Your top 2 have broken away from Bobby Zelensky, and the last couple laps, Keegan Leahy has got a couple of runs on Chris Shearburn. Hasn't been able to do anything with the lead position, but that time they're down into corner number 1, almost had a run as Griglia goes to the inside of Challenger to try to pick up that position. And as they continue to battle back and forth, it's allowed the leaders to get a little bit of a bigger gap, but it might be just as much everybody else falling off the pace of the leader, because you see Bobby Zelensky, he was a part of this battle earlier, and there he is about a half second or so off the pace of these top 2.
But it is very clear, again, that even with the setup and the rules package that'll keep everybody together, you do have the ability to have a car that's dialed in on the long run to be able to show some muscle. And, of course, that Bobby Zalenski entry, not only a different manufacturer as a caution flag, is out now, the 19 machine. Hearing involved in this one, Tucker around. Looks like Logan Kress also picks up some heavy damage. We'll take a look at the RaceBot TV replay, and he was way off at a turn 4. Took a trip through the AstroTurf there, but he got a big bounce and a huge hit into the outside wall after he got up and over basically what's the Legends Oval there. That car bounced. Somehow the 24 of Cody Bias doesn't get obliterated, but Logan Kress, wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate there for Logan, and even for Casey as well. I mean, it just seemed like he carried way too much speed, didn't scrub enough off coming out of the AstroTurf, like you said, and when he kind of jumped it, it just sort of picked the car up, and he just couldn't ever really hold on to it there. Possibly got a little bit of damage as well, so unfortunate there for the 19 of Casey Tucker, as oftentimes that'll be the sort of incident you just roll through the AstroTurf and get to the bottom of the racetrack and just merge in behind a whole bunch of cars, but that time just caught an unlucky bounce, threw him up into the outside wall and into a handful of cars. So that's going to be the 19's night done, as well as several others, as pit stops will happen here, and this will give both Zach Novak and Phil Diaz their first opportunity to maybe get back on the lead lap here tonight.
And I wonder if the change on the front straightaway made that bounce any more aggressive than it typically was. I mean, you saw that car get up and off the ground, Tim. With the Roval, obviously, Charlotte Motor Speedway, they put in that artificial grass, so when iRacing rescanned it, it does drive a little bit differently. I wonder if the bumps were a little bit different, maybe didn't scrub enough speed or as much speed as those drivers maybe thought it may have in the past.
Still not in the box. Keegan just now getting in the box. Sorry to interrupt, but we're going to see the 62 car drop a lot of spots here.
He did not do good. He entered second, was pretty good on the entrance, but a late dive. He was too far left in the pit box, so he'll take his 4 tires. That's paramount, but he loses nearly 10 spots as Chris Shearburn is money from the number 1 pit stall, but it'll be Zalenski and Conti off second and third.
Yeah, he might be back here as far as 12th or 13th right now. He came out behind Kane Cook and lost a ton of ground on pit road, did Keegan Leahy. So now we're going to get to see what Keegan can do in traffic. As you can see from the onboard, there is a lot of cars ahead of him. And I think looking back at that replay, Evan, you saw that car, Casey Tucker, bounce a couple of times. It hit that Roval, then it hit the Legends Oval twice, because it hit the Legends Oval in 3 and 4 and then in 1 and 2. And it just upset the handling of that thing. And for that point, I think Casey Tucker was along for the ride. There really wasn't a whole lot he could do. He maybe tried to turn it or maybe tried to slow it down a little bit, but the way it was carrying that speed, it was probably still coming back onto the racetrack. Tough break for Logan Kress and everybody that was behind him, but a tough way to end a long race early for some of those drivers.
Yeah, a lot of cars back down to the pit lane to try to get some of them fixed up. Some may be repairable, but some drivers, the night may be done. We have yet to see somebody officially retire, but certainly a lot of damaged race cars in that one for what was otherwise a very disciplined and great start to this race as we pace right now at lap number 38. The battle between Diaz and Tucker, they now end up being the only drivers a lap down because Zach Novak did have the benefit of being the lucky dog after just being recently lapped by the top cars. So he gets back to the lead lap. He'll bring the Oscar Mayer Ford down pit road this time for service. Still a long road to hoe. He's going to be back at about 36th or 37th position. However, back on the lead lap and with a fighting opportunity, a restart due up that'll still have more laps to go than most races we have total lengthwise on the intermediate tracks this season. This would have coming just shy of quarter distance.
Yeah, 162 laps to go at the moment, and of course the light's still on that pace car, so it'll be a little less than that when we eventually go back to green flag racing. I will say it's interesting to see this 36 car Chris Shearburn having such a good run tonight. It's good to see the Letard Esports car having a strong run. He has Josh Rogers actually on the top of the box, which is an interesting name. One of the hottest drivers in road racing at the moment. He's won a couple of those Porsche Esports Super Cup races, and as well as swept the first 3 rounds of the VRS Endurance Championship. So a successful name on top of the box for Chris Shearburn, and maybe that's helping the success here. He's playing a little bit drag racing the pace car coming to the line.
And we should see the lights go out on top of the pace car. That 36 is, as we noted, one of many cars in the field tonight sporting the red, white, and blue. You will see I'm sure the same semblance this upcoming Sunday for the 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway, but there are a lot of nice looking cars, and as always, any week you could be in the conversation with us. You can tweet using the hashtag ENPAIS or use the hashtag ReachThePeak. And because we get a lot of special paint schemes out there, feel free to let us know which ones that you are liking, and it would be fun to see if we can have one of the special paint schemes make it to victory lane tonight.
And looking at the top 6, those first 3 rows, I think those are 6 of those special paint schemes that we're seeing. The 14 back there, Casey Kerwin, also sporting a special livery on his race car. So there's 15 or so throughout the field, as you mentioned, Evan, and there's at least 6 of them occupying those top 6 positions.
It'll be a good look as they all come rolling out of turn number 4 to get up to speed. Pace speed here from Charlotte, 55 miles an hour, just in contrast to the 45 miles an hour that is down on the pit lane. But just as we were starting to see the field get spread out, we're going to group them back up, but a race start due up. Control car inside of the front row. The 36 of Chris Shearburn is going to be able to dictate when we go green. As we put lap number 39 behind us, still 161 laps to go from Charlotte as we look for the green flag. Well timed, inside and out. Bobby Zelensky lockstep with him to turn 1.
We saw 2x2 at the start of the race before the tires started dropping off to everyone. Let's see how crazy it gets now as we're about 1/5 the way there, in this race tonight. Shearburn, top 3, all get themselves single file, turns into the top 4, top 5 as Clampett is hung out to dry on the high side of the racetrack. Now the 17 gets a big push, and Zelensky's going to hop up top to try to fight with Shearburn for that race lead.
He wants to make this a fight, and he's in a very good spot. He's got the support. You can see, though, basically 3 cars stacked up on the inside. Everybody pushing like it'd be a plate track off to turn 1. And the center of the corner speed is what is so drastically different with this package. The lowest I think any of those cars got in the center of 1 and 2 was 179 miles per hour. And especially when you push and you have the 17 helping the 18 out on the outside, I don't really think it's out of common courtesy. I think he just wants Zelensky to get through to the race lead so he can get a crack at it on his own. But the outside duo, a lot more aggressive, a lot more physical than the cars at the inside have been, and if they end up completing the pass, that could be the difference.
That Fastenal Ford right on the back bumper is Zelensky's Interstate Batteries Camry, and got a little bit free there on the back straightaway between those two as Zelensky trying to take that lead away from the inside line, and Chris Shearburn, great run in the middle of the corner. We're 3 wide in behind them. Kane Cook, once again, Evan, going to try to make that third groove work, but I don't think anybody's going to go along with him.
It's the second time the number 2's gone up there. Last time it was very short-lived as he tried it from the second row. This time from a little bit further back, and he's going to make some headway at a turn 2 and down to quarter 3. He's able to get up alongside the 17 of Guest. Again, I think he needs help out there to do it. One driver's willing to do the dance. The 5 of Matt Busa thinks about a third lane, tucks back behind the 3 of Guerrilla for the moment, but Kane Cook is locked in and not willing to go down without a fight. The problem is, if he can't make the outside work, Randy, it might be boxed out there all on his own, because that 3 is thinking about filling his spot tucked up behind Guest.
That is the one problem. I will say this is good to see, because I guarantee you if we get late in this race and have a restart, while it maybe just be Kane Cook who wants to run that upper groove at the moment, you'll see a lot more race cars try to make that line work, running for the win. The 17 up the middle is going to get ahead of the 2 car, and Kane's going to be able to get in line. So Michael Guest will take his spot, but the 2 of Kane Cook will casually get his way back down to that second groove, running the middle with everyone else, since Shearburn's trying to chop lanes at the head of the field.
And the 2 is barely able to get a spot down up front. Meanwhile, as you mentioned, Chris Shearburn trying to make that a wide race car, went high to low, and maybe a tad bit of mirror driving as he watches what the number 18 machine Bobby Zelensky's trying to do. He practically parked that car just right in the middle of the racetrack as he went through the quad oval to limit the options for the 18 Toyota behind him. And the top 2, a little bit of breathing room. They may not be able to maintain that while the 17 and the 8 stay side by side. Again, remember, it was the top 3 group that pulled away on our first run of the night. Let's see if it is going to be 3-4 cars or if those top 2 are going to be able to get away, because we are in a dogfight for third. Again, that is still Conti on the inside, Guest on the outside, and a whole freight train at 2 wide still behind him through the rest of the field.
If these guys continue to go side by side, it may allow those top two to separate themselves a little bit further from the pack as they're tucked up tight together. Michael Conti has taken third away in sole possession thereof. Looks like Clampett on the inside, up the racetrack a little bit. The 17 of Michael Guest going to try to get that run off the corner. And here comes Casey Kerwin. Kerwin's been on the move, started in position number 15. He's up 10 to position number 5 and trying to gain one more here as he tries to get up to Michael Guest. And oh, by the way, Logan Clampett continues to do that inside line, and 37 of Christian Chalner has decided to go to the outside as well. Casey Kerwin trying to find a way around Michael Guest, though, in the 17 as they dance for position number 4.
I think everybody's trying to find a way by Michael Guest right now. There's a big swipe to the inside as Casey Kerwin, tired of sitting around, he'll go high to low and make a good dive down into turn 1 just like that. Change for position number 4. It goes to the 14 of Kerwin. The 17 maybe thought about crossing it back over, doesn't do it, stays at a bumper, and they will single file out. Those top 3 cars is way deep into the quarter was Challenger and got into the back of the 17 to Guest that time.
The things getting dicey here just outside of the top 5. You wouldn't think there was still over 150 laps to go in this race the way some of these guys are racing, but Challenger still on that top side, pressuring the 17 of Michael Guest. He also has Logan Clampett to deal with on the inside, which is why Challenger wants to get moving. He doesn't want to let that 99 by. That's exactly what Logan's able to do. Gets clear Christian into 3.
He's going to be able to complete that pass. Challenger loses another one as you go on board with him. And he's not going to have any time to kind of recuperate. New challenger to the inside of the racetrack. The G2 Esports entry of Keegan Leahy going to make it side by side. And they have their own front row view of another 2x2 battle as Logan and Clampett now trying to go to the inside of Michael Guest. I think we just kind of got used to drivers single filing out a tad bit. You see it behind this group. I think 6 or 7 cars in a single file line right there before you see some more 2x2. But the tires are starting to go. If you're going to make a pass and you're in a group of 5-6 cars, you're going to have to make those moves now. It is going to start to be increasingly more difficult as we get longer into this second run of the night.
We saw Keegan Leahy had that miscue back there on that last run, but now he's worked his way through traffic. We've seen some drivers struggle with working their way through traffic in this one, Evan, and now working the outside line, trying to pick up one more on Logan Clampett for that position. But it seems like Keegan's been able to handle the traffic well, but if you look up about 2 seconds ahead, there's your leaders. They have made their way away from this pack that is battling for those positions. So as they duke it out from about 5th on back, your leaders starting to become a little bit smaller in the windshields of guys like Christian Challenger, Keegan Leahy, and Logan Clampett.
And I think Michael Conti has an opportunity to become the 3rd car in this group, but he's very much on the edge there. I think Kerwin's going to struggle to hang on from 4th as he's already a 2nd and in fact lost an entire 10th that last time through. This portion of tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Peak Antifreeze, the official antifreeze of the 2019 eNASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series, as we are now a quarter distance through tonight for the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. If you're just getting with us, one caution flag thus far, and we are about to now 15 to 20 laps in to our second dash of the night. The race leaders have started to spread out. You're watching to fight for the number 6 spot. Challenger's the outside 37 car, and Keegan Leahy's the car working the bottom.
He's still doing a lot of work down there on the bottom, isn't he? Keegan has been so quick, and after getting buried in the field after that mistake on pit road, has done well to hop his way quickly through the number of cars. Remember, he started this run in the 11th, currently in the 11th spot, currently fighting for 6th with Christian Challenger. One thing to talk about with this track, though, Evan, we haven't mentioned it, is actually that wall on pit entry, a new addition, of course, from the old track. That makes it very scary if you spin off turn 4. You potentially go from just a harmless spin off of 4, going through the grass, into potentially having really race-ending contact with that wall.
That's one of the many changes that comes with this new updated scan of the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Get all of these laser scanned tracks on the iRacing.com service, accurate to a quarter of an inch. And that pit road wall is there in turn 4, never been there before. at this racetrack, and we have not yet seen green flag pit stops, but when we do, it could be very interesting. Drivers trying to get down to speed with that wall there. Also, I mean, you just lose the car to turn 4, very easy to end up at the sharp end of that concrete barrier there that joins the changes such as the likes of the the artificial grass at the front straightaway that we talked about. Of course, some of the cosmetic changes, no longer those yellow walls from Charlotte. So a lot of visual changes, and of course the minor track changes as well with an updated scan, a little bit of a rougher racetrack with more degradation on the surface since it was previously scanned. So something else that the drivers have been working with the last little bit through practice to get reacclimated to a racetrack that otherwise would probably be one that they've driven on more than any other on the service.
We mentioned this is a long race, and you have the opportunity to make up ground if you do lose it. We saw Ryan lose a little bit earlier, lose control of that race car and fall back a few spots, get a little bit of damage to his race car. Well, he's all the way back up to 13th place now, so Luza is working his way quickly through this pack, and you can see him right behind Vincent, Ashton Crowder. Vincent picked up one spot there on that last lap by, and Luza is on the march. He's on his way towards the front of the field, but we said it earlier, Evan, if you have a miscue early in this race, you have an opportunity, with this being the longest race of the season, to make up that ground. And don't count out Ryan Luza yet. He's on the way to the top 10, and if he continues to pick them up the way he has, he should be there in just a few laps' time, because he's got 3 spots ahead of him to make, and they're right there.
When Luza had that contact very early on, it did not lead to a caution flag, and it might be tough to see, but look at the right front there. You can see it when the sun glistened off of the nose there. He's got that right front damage on the 53 Toyota. There was contact in turn 2. The entire field scattered. It was not a caution. We stayed green, but Luza certainly A, lost time, and B, got some damage and all of that. So impressive that through all of that, he started 32nd and is up to the number 13 position as is. Kane Cook was just able to get back up and around him after Luza squeaked him at the start-finish line for that number 13 position. But the 53 is not going to roll over and quit. And when we took a look at the championship standings, and you could see the difference between he and the next closest competitor is very clear. But the 53 machine has been locked in this season, having taken home multiple race wins, 3 so far this season: Vegas, Texas, and Richmond.
I mean, it's not just been this season. The past 3 years, this kid has just been awesome. I mean, he came into the series in 2017, won the championship. 2018, he was the rival to Alfala all year, but Ray just was able to pick it up. And coming into this year, he's been the dominant driver. So it's been an extraordinary consistency from the driver of that 53 car. As we look at the 2 of Kane Cook, he's actually been the pacier car of this group and moved up through this field just a little bit. But it's been really fortunate for Ryan to get that damage when he did. It was relatively light, it seems, and it was able to get it repaired. They'll be able to work that number 53 car all night. You should be able to improve it. So it should be all up from here for Luza, unless he gets caught up in more trouble.
And it is impressive to see Kane Cook in the 2 car continue to make some headway. We were talking about Luza making a boost, but Cook was able to get around him, get around the 77 of Ashton Crowder, and almost make a move that time at 1 and 2 on Christian Challenger, not able to do so. The 37 uses the outside to blow back on through, but he is still in a position where all of these cars kind of find themselves in one of those 4 or 5 car gaggles that they can't really get away from. Cook and Luza, 2 drivers to watch as they race around Crowder. I mentioned the number 30 machine also. Blake Reynolds in the mix there. The Team Dillon entry on the inside, holding off in the fight for 13th spot right now.
Made a nice little move there a couple laps ago to get by Crowder and Luza, or at least set it up 3 wide down to the inside. And Blake Reynolds has been consistent and quietly consistent, reeling off top 10 and top 5 finishes. And it looks like he's trying to reel his way back up towards the front as he's reeling in Cook and Chalner for that position that's currently side by side for 11th. And he already points that car to the outside line. It's definitely got some speed underneath it. Blake Reynolds coming towards the front of the field and looking to crack at least 11th. Here's another 3 wide move to the inside for the 30.
Staying busy, Blake Reynolds, somebody who wants to get back up and towards the front, and He's going to get ahead of Cook there. Maybe a twofer as he gets up in front of Challoner. Yes, he does. To the inside and a block as the 30 car goes high to make the move. Then all the way to the inside to shut the door. Challoner 2 tires in the grass that time. Opted not, though, to force the issue.
That was a brave block there from Blake Reynolds. Many a driver would not be happy with that and would have kept their foot in it into one and maybe sent you. But Christian Challoner opts not to do that. But a great move regardless from Blake Reynolds, as he's going to move his way up through this field quickly. So a number of cars we have here in the early goings doing a great job running their way through the field.
And a caution flag now at lap number 68, and a big crash on the front straightaway. The 4 car up and over. Nathan Lyon absolutely destroyed on his own there. And we'll see what led to it. A little bit of contact, and it is a piece of damage. He and Brad Davies door slamming at a turn number 4, and it was the 4 car who got really unfortunate there.
Tough break for Nathan Lyon. Was running well early in this one, and that's what happens when you're in traffic. And one small little slip up coming off the corner, or one small slip up from one of your peers could end up either ending your night or making your night a little bit longer than it would be. But the downside for the Letarte Esports team is it looks like they've lost one driver in this race. The good news is that the other one is up in front and looks like he has a pretty dominant piece underneath him with Chris Shearburn leading this thing.
What this will do is it'll bring us to another exchange of pit stops. We saw a very costly mistake on that first trip down to the pit lane for the driver at the time that was in the number 2 spot. So we'll see Leahy's been able to make his way back up to 4th in the VRS entry. That was after dropping nearly outside to the back end of the top 10. He had lost touch with your race leader, so in fact, if he could make a good pit stop here, very good timing for everybody else, as well as he gets back into it. That shot off of the wall, a good look at that new wall on the right-hand side of pit lane at a turn 4. But they are going to be led down to the pit lane. Shearburn, first car all the way to the end to pit stall number 1. No doubt everybody again wants 4 tires.
Keeping an eye to see if anyone else ends up rolling their box here. Leahy does not make the same mistake twice, so he's good. I don't see too many mistakes on pit road this time. I think they should all come off in about the order they came on.
Left side's up at a 36, looks clean. Drag race to the line. Might have been a good battle as the 18 of Zelensky got close. But the number 1 pit stall helps out, and it is Shearburn leading the race off. Second for Bobby Zelensky. Conti in 3rd, Guest 4th, and Clampett your top 5.
So they'll roll off a pit road after the second caution period of the evening. And just looking at trends right now, the first run about 35 laps, the second run about 30 laps or so. So it looks like that seems to be the trend so far in the first stages of this race. But as they roll off a pit road, Shearburn, Zelensky, they pulled away from the field when they had the opportunity to get single file. Everybody else was still double file behind them. So keep an eye on those two and see if they can do the same. But you know the first couple laps of this restart are going to be wild.
We've seen it twice now, and as we get later into the evening and closer to the end of this race, they're only going to get that much better. This yellow comes out just as we got to the 1/3 marker of tonight's Charlotte 300. So still plenty of ways to go under the yellow flag. A single car incident for Nathan Lyon slows us down. This time, I would be very surprised, to say the least, if the number 4 could get back on track. If he is unable to, he would be the only car to officially go behind the wall. Casey Tucker has a lot of damage and is 35 laps down, but is still technically in this race, having not retired the car. The only other driver off of the lead lap aside from Nathan Lyon is Logan Kress. He's actually the modified up at the front of the field with no bumper or no front end, but getting a lap back, so he will now go from 18 to 17 laps down. A lot of damage, but again, hoping that some cars end up in the garage by the time this race is done, and he can pick up just a handful of points after he and his colleagues back there outside the top 35 had not had the start to the night that they would have wanted.
You know, Evan, you mentioned that, and I'm actually curious. You think this is an elaborate marketing move from iRacing? We know we have the new modifieds coming in the next build here in just a couple of weeks. Is that maybe what Logan's driving up there at the head of the field?
It looks like it. He's got he's missing a bit fiberglass, and it's what makes the modifieds nice and fun. And you mentioned that as well inside of the eNASCAR realm with the Ignite series that will be returning. You will see those new modifieds in action when playoff action comes to the iRacing Sports Network. So if it was, I was not in that email thread, but we'll keep an eye as Logan Kress, again, with 3 drivers off of the lead lap.
And it looks like he'll get the wave around when we get ready to go green right here as he'll pass the pace car and get back to the back of the field. Should mention as well, Zach Novak got the lucky dog on our first caution flag, and he's already being scored in position number 20, so where he was scheduled to start this evening, he's already back up midway through the field in position number 20, so keep an eye on that number 6. We've seen Ryan Luza up and down so far this evening. We saw Keegan Leahy have a botched pit stop earlier and had to do a little bit of work on that last run, but now Zach Novak, he's up in the top 5 in the points picture, and now he's working his way back up to the front here. We mentioned long race, long opportunity to try to get your positions back if you do have a falter, and Zach Novak right now making the best of that opportunity, sitting in 20th.
It was the top 2 on that last run that were able to pull away. It was 3 the time prior, so keep a very close look on these top couple of rows through the next 10 laps to see who's able to stay in touch and how that will play into effect as we close in on halfway home in this Charlotte 300. Of course, at all times, all the intervals at the top of your screen. You can also go to racespot.tv/timing and get a look at the full live timing as the pace car dives down to the pit lane. We're going to experience this restart with Zach Novak way back in the 19th position as the pace car's down and in. Let's listen to him as we go full throttle and go fan immersion from Charlotte Motor Speedway. Caution flag comes out behind your race leaders. They just about got 2 laps in off of the restart, and there it is. The JTG Doherty Racing entry of Nick Ottinger is around. That is where all of the contact comes from. You can see him spinning in front of the field as the contact came at turn number 2. This will be a good look at it on the Race Spot TV replay. He was on the outside line. It looked like Alfala got a little bit loose, and the 47 car got loose at the same time, and then the 47 hard into the outside wall, bounced off a couple of other cars, and collects about 5 or 6 total.
Early in these restarts, there's no room for error, Evan, and everybody's racing so close together, and one small mistake is going to send you around, or in the case of Nick Ottinger, up into the outside wall and ahead of most of the field. Tough break for Nick Ottinger, though. You saw him racing there with Ray Alfala. We said earlier they started on row number 11 midway through the pack and trying to work their way up through, and it seemed like for most of this race they were lockstep together. The last run or so, Nick Ottinger was a little ways ahead of the 21 of Alfala, but Alfala now scored in position number 10, so we'll see if Ray can get up here and duke it out with guys like Shearburn and Bobby Zielinski. But tough break for Nick Ottinger. It seems like he's had a little bit of an up and down season, been hot and cold, and has that win at Talladega, but this is not going to help his playoff chances as he was inside the bubble when we went green tonight.
And the first time tonight with the yellow flag, drivers not coming down pit road to get 4 fresh tires. You're watching a replay of that restart there as you saw the 18 of Bobby Zielinski again with a very good start on the outside, opting to tuck in line behind Shearburn It opened up the door for Michael Conti to go to the outside line. Again, the yellow flag came before that number 8 was able to do much about it. But interesting to note that, again, Zelensky having the ability, having such good restarts to make the outside work, and has been there for some battles just off of the restarts, opting to go to the inside and give a shove to the number 36 machine. Looks like involved in that accident. The tally will claim Nick Ottinger in the 47, the 5 car Matt Busa, the 90 of Malik Ray, the 46 machine of Jimmy Mullis, and the number 24 of Cody Bias, the drivers who pick up damage in that. As you can watch the restart for the perspective of Logan Clampett there, who tested out some of the artificial grass, all 4 tires down in there, and he was just fine.
And he saw that 99 car got a little bit scared. It was actually the car involved in the wreck. The 47 of Nick Ottinger was getting a big push from the 14 to Casey Kerwin coming to the green, and that just got the rear tires light on that 47 car, and he got loose. Did a very good job holding onto it to not spin that thing, but the 99 of Logan Clampett got a little scared in the peripheral when he saw that 47 car get loose and start coming down on the racetrack, and he jumped to the AstroTurf real quick to test out running there. So maybe a 5th line getting discovered there through the quad oval.
Yeah, we'll see how that one comes into play. If it comes push to shove at the end of the race, you've got another option. It is fun because I know you mentioned the quad oval, and I know when Kane Cook was out on that third, a very outside line, Tim, he nearly took the wall out on the front straightaway. All the 1.5 miler intermediate racetracks, relatively the same, in and around the range of 20 plus degrees of banking, 24 here at Charlotte, but they all have their unique quirks, and very similar to a Texas or Atlanta here at Charlotte, that quad oval's got 2 very distinct kinks on the front straightaway. It is not a tri-oval like a Las Vegas, where it is just a big progressive left-hand bend on the front straightaway. You do have 2 very distinct points before and then after the start-finish line. It could make it difficult for a driver playing defense to protect the bottom, when they come off of the quad oval there. So just one of the more unique things that make Charlotte Motor Speedway different than some other racetracks, and we have seen it be a small factor tonight. And certainly if this race comes down to a lot of mirror driving, which if we've seen a lot of it through 77, I know it'll be an option. It'll be on the table, inside of 5 or 10 to go if we are setting up for another exciting finish. We have had tons of those so far this season. That would certainly be another factor to keep an eye on, it, as I think the lights will be out on the pace car this time as the drivers start to double up.
As the lights go out this time by, I'm intrigued to see what Kane Cook can do. You mentioned Kane Cook trying to come to the front of the field on that restart, and he was pushing that 3 wide boundary a couple of times here this evening. Made it up to the top 5 the last time we had a restart and we had a run of a few laps, but he fell back on that run. Once everybody got strung out, he fell back to about 15th place or so. So it kind of materialized, and it kind of stabilized from where he was before to where he was afterwards, after he made that run. Right now, he's being scored in position number 12, so he can probably do the same thing again, Evan. I'm just interested to see if he can get that up to the top 5 and maybe maintain it for a longer run. But it seems like when everybody's boxed in together, and everybody wants to go too wide, and he goes to the outside line, he's got something to make that outside line work. So if we get a couple of short runs to the end of this race, Kane Cook might be one to watch.
He has not been shy about it either, but it has been an up and down night. He's at least on 2 occasions this evening been 3 wide while also holding a top 5 spot on the racetrack. All of that, though, only goes to show that he is 12th for this restart. 35 of the 39 cars who started this race scored at the moment on the lead lap. Pace car to drop back down and in, and Chris Yerburn's getting an awful lot of restart practice. He is once again the control car to dictate when we restart this race. He holds them back, now puts the right foot down. Green flag in the air, we're back underway. 78 laps complete.
And how is this going to stack up the field with Chris Yearburn deciding to go so late? The 18 of Bobby Zelensky going to get hung out just a little bit. Michael Conti looks to the inside, going to try to pick up that second spot. I think he should just be able to, but no, the 99 of Clampett locks onto the rear. The 18 car and a big shove for Bobby Zelensky towards the head of the field.
Pushes him all the way into the corner at 182 miles an hour on the get up to speed lap. As Clampett very aggressive on the outside, and contrary to what we've seen and the point that he made under the yellow in the last couple of restarts, Zelensky didn't tuck in line. I don't really think he had an option to. All of those top three had such a good jump that Conti was right there from the get-go. But Bobby Zelensky's got an opportunity now to make a charge early on the very outside.
Shearburn was able to hook that apron in the middle of two and almost got a little too much apron, almost got that car upset coming out of that second corner with Conti on his back bumper. Shearburn going to come through the dog leg and going to lead this lap here. Zelensky on that outside line trying to get that little push. Clampett and Kerwin to try to make it back to the front, but Michael Conti, that filter time car's flying on the inside line, trying to get up to at least second place and give a little shot to Chris Shearburn to get him ahead of the pack by that outside line, going to pull even down the back.
And just like a plate track, he's got nowhere to go. There's a car in front of him, cars behind, and cars to the right-hand side. So the only thing that Michael Conti can do is push, and that is exactly what he is doing on the back of the number 36 machine. But the last time by, it only had them to an 8/1000th of a second advantage. 3 wide a little bit further back, it is the 77 car. Ashton Crowder way up high. Keegan Leahy looks like to go to pick him up, but I don't think the 62 is going to stick with it, no. And I think Ashton Crowder now trapped up there. The 2's there also, by the way. So Kane Cook, third line again. The first time he's had some help, but it just still is not working.
Kane Cook and running in the third lane. Name a more iconic duo. The 21 of Afala stuck in the middle between Ashton Crowder and I believe that's Ryan Luza down there on the bottom. So 3 abreast ahead of the 6 of Zach Novak at the moment as Crowder gets a bit of a run. Is actually now going to make it 3 wide with Garrett Lowe and Corey Vincent.
Corey Vincent also in a good position here as he tries to hold the inside. It's probably the most stable of the lines, but with Ray Alfala in that middle, the 77 up top, awfully tight that time into turn number 1, as these drivers are working with extremely limited space and somehow able to hang on. What a show now as the third line grows to 3 cars strong.
With these guys going 3 wide and now back to 2 wide, it almost looked like it was going to be an opportunity for the top 5 to get away a little bit, but not going to happen. The 36 is Shearburn going to lead this lap. Almost was clear of the 18 on the outside of Zelensky, but they're going to get back to side by side. They're 3 wide for about 6. It's Crowder on the outside. Zach Novak was a lap down at the start of this thing, and now he's in the top 10. Close quarter racing off of corner number 2. He's got Garrett Lowe to the inside, and he's going to make his own hole trying to get 5th.
There was no third, there was no middle lane there, 3 wide until the 6 Zach Novak forced it right after we just finally got back down to 2x2. It pays off for him, though, as he completes the pass on the 28 of Garrett Lowe. He trickles down to P9, and now Ryan Luza inside of the top 10 for the first time tonight. The G Fuel Flipside Tactics Toyota has cracked the top 10. Not a good sign for the rest of the cars up front. The 14. Kerwin tried to go low. The 6 Novak was there, and they touched in the corner.
14 sure doing his best effort to end up on Ozcast, spitting himself on the nose of Zach Novak. Very well done by the 6 to check up there and not cause a huge incident, as Casey Kerwin now will go to the inside of the 8 of Michael Conti through 1 and 2. Can't quite work it as the 6 of Novak is trying to fight off Keegan Leahy.
And the way they run right now, I'm not sure how long you can drive these cars this hard, but this is a clinic on why these drivers are the best sim racers in the world as they continue to go no holds bar since this restart. The top 4 finally single file out and get an opportunity to wipe the sweat off their forehead. Shearburn, your leader, over Zelensky, Clampett, Conti, Kerwin, your top 5, but still no shortage of action. 3 wide now, further back on the very back of your shot there, the 80 of Brandon Cattell to the inside. It's Reynolds in the middle and Dylan Duval this time on the outside.
Dylan Duval trying to roll the top and try to pick up a couple of spots. The 30 of Blake Reynolds, we've seen him up at the front of the pack, and now we see him about mid-pack or so. This is around 15th place as they continue to battle it out. Adam Benefield had a great qualifying effort. See him in this battle as well in the 83 as you ride on board with the Simcraft number 42 of Duval on the outside line trying to pick up a position. But Evan, you mentioned it, up in front, your top 5 or top 6 or so are now single file, and actually all the way back to about Novak, who had Ashton Crowder to the inside, but now Crowder has the 53 of Ryan Luza to the outside. So about your top 6 or 7 single file, and starting to settle this amongst themselves. There's your first real side-by-side battle. It looked like Casey Kerwin may have poked the nose underneath Conti. Nothing doing there, off 2. And now Keegan Leahy goes to the inside of the 14.
Leahy is going to try this now as he holds the 14 to Kerwin to the outside. It's the battle for the number 5 spot right now. Conti also now working the 99 of the 99 of Clampett in front of him. So for 3rd position also. So 2 sets of 2x2. And I think that as the 8 car gets it, Conti finds himself in a familiar position. 3rd in line, a half a second off of your race leaders, but starting to lose that draft. Again, your top 2 checked out on the last run before the caution flag came out, and I think they're going to be able to pull away from Conti once more unless the 8 machine can catch up quickly, because we've reached the point in the run now where the tires are starting to go. You're going to have to start to lift, and these things really become a pain to drive.
Doesn't seem like he's going to have that pace. Last trip around the racetrack, he was about a 10th off the 2nd place runner of Bobby Zielinski. So for Michael Conti, looks like he's pretty much hit the wall in terms of reeling in those top 2 cars. But look at the way he's breaking away from the 99 and the 62. He's up and up about 7 or 8 car lengths here already. Actually, that's going to about 10 or 12 as they roll through 3 and 4. But he gets tight, and he's going to have to lift out of it. That's going to allow Logan to bring the gap back down just a little bit as Keegan has a run on the 99 once again.
He's got to run. Is he going to be able to close the mission this time and to be able to complete the pass? No, single file as they come off at corner 2. I think single file all the way back to the Cattell entry, who tucks in line. Brandon Cattell, give him a shout out. Why not? Started 30th position. He's up to 13th, but there are tons of drivers who have made those moves. I know I mentioned Ryan Luza was able to get inside of the top 10 after a long charge to the front, and he has a front row seat to Zach Novak making a move on the 14. Casey Kerwin losing yet another spot. So Luza, one of your big movers, but how about Ray Alfalo? We talked about the points off of the start of the night. He's very close to the red and not in a good position for the playoffs, let alone being secure to stay in this championship for 2020. However, tonight also not a good start. Rolled 22nd on the grid, but he is there now in P9.
Quietly has made his way up to the top 10, and he's been picking off positions as we go along in this run in the Motorcraft Ford, and as we mentioned, top 10 and trying to move a little bit forward, following Ryan Luza through the pack here, and he's got to go, as you mentioned, in the points. If he wants to have a playoff run and make himself try to defend this championship, he's got to start making moves halfway through towards the regular season and into that playoff run. Ray Alfalo's got to start clicking off some points, and good top 10 runs is a good way to start to try to get that thing a little bit closer to that top 8 cutoff. Right in front of him, Ryan Luza, what a run at a corner number 2 to the inside. He goes on Casey Kerwin, can't get the move done, but it was right up on that left rear quarter. Looked like he was going to make something happen at a 2, just lost that momentum that he had in that run. So Ryan Luza going to have to reset and retry again on the 14.
But it has been the inside time after time, being able to make these moves on Casey Kerwin. He's still in a great position in the iRacing Peak Ford. He's up from where he started, but it just looks like after the opening 5 laps, he just struggles off of the corner, and it allows these cars to get the run. Luza again cuts to the inside, get a challenge into turn number 3. You would typically think the outside going to be the better place to be at this stage of the run, but Luza stays right there with him, awfully 10 out of 4, and he'll set him up for turn 1. A good opportunity here to complete the move.
Yeah, and Luza's going to make that look easy, and I think Casey's going to help the move just a little bit as we go in towards 1. Let's see if Ray, though, will follow behind the 14 car, can sort of follow Luza through. Seems like the answer is going to be no, as Casey actually gets a good run off the corner, but he's going to let it go as they go in towards 3. So I think smart racing there for the 14, as we're only a couple laps out from halfway.
Almost halfway home in this. It'll be 2 laps from now. When we get there, we'll take a look at your iRacing midway race break, as we have seen a handful of yellows and an abundance of fantastic action in the opening half of this Charlotte 300. You do have side-by-side still. You got to fish for it a little bit. You see a couple of instances of it down the back straightaway. Malik Ray, Brian Schoenberg, one back in 26th and 27th spot. So there are still battles up for grabs around the racetrack, but we have gotten to the point in the run where we have seen before. Single file things out, try to run this race, but we have not gotten past this point. Still no green flag pit stops.
In the last couple of runs, we've seen the top two or so break away. Now Chris Shearburn has about a half-second advantage on the rest of the field, and I say rest of the field because you've got Bobby Zielinski about 2 car lengths up on Keegan Leahy. Michael Conti is there as well, not too far off of those two. So there's no passing, there's no sense of urgency. It just looks like they're content to ride right now, but Keegan Leahy might be just a touch quicker in that slipstream of that Interstate Batteries 18 as a caution flag flies at halfway.
Almost right on cue. Caution flag at lap number 101. The 42 of Duval has some damage. The replay will show if he is the car where all of this stems from. And as they came at a turn 4 into the front straightaway, a little bit of 3 wide. Peeking to the inside was Cook. And well, there's that tri-oval, that kink that I talked about, Randy, coming off for the front straightaway. The room was there. I mean, there's a whole lane at the line when the 2 goes down, but then when they go through that second kink on the front straightaway, the 42 Duval comes down to cut that off, to take the natural progression that he wants to set him up for turn 1, and very quickly, that lane that the 2 car had disappeared.
Yeah, you're right, and I honestly think, while the lane was there for a moment, I don't think that's a good move there by King Cook whatsoever, because that gap's always going to go away, and he's not nearly close enough. He's just barely getting any overlap there on the 42 Duval, and I think with, basically 100 laps left to go in the race, I think it's too early trying to go for gaps like that. That's the sort of move that drivers aren't going to be looking to block off. The spotter is only just barely going to be calling car left right as the car ahead of you turns in that you're trying to make a move on. So a sketchy move from Kane, sees the 42 go around, and a couple other cars gets tangled up in it as well.
We're going to head down to the pit lane for pit stops. We'll hold off that look top to bottom until after people come down to the pit lane and complete this. We will see, I'm certain, a handful of positions that get swapped every which way. We know the name of the game, Tim. 4 tires and fuel. It's just a matter of executing.
It's execution. We saw it earlier with Keegan Leahy overshooting his box and having to back up, and this time he gets into his box and looks like it's clean for Keegan Leahy and those drivers that are up in the front. Bobby Zielinski, Chris Shearburn, and the likes as they taking 4 tires. Ottinger off a little bit early, as is Timmy Hill. Maybe they missed their box or maybe took 2, but those up in front going to be a drag race again with Bobby Zielinski and the 36 of Shearburn.
And once more, that inside position, the number 1 pit stall helps the number 36 machine out. Again, if that line is another 50 feet down to the corner, I don't think he wins that race off of pit road. But in this instance, again, Shearburn protects on the pit lane. He will cycle out to what looks like will be second or third, actually, on track at the moment. 2 cars from the lead lap have stayed out. Matt Busa in the number 5, the Williams Esports entry, is currently your race leader. And then as well, you just saw Timmy Hill with the Flipside Tactics car currently scored in the number 2 spot. The sandwich in between those two is Nick Ottinger, who cannot come down until this lap, being a lap down. I don't think Busa is any intentions of staying out, though, and restarting with the old tires. He ducks immediately down to the pit lane. But Timmy Hill will not. The 63, I believe, is going to stay out for just 1 more lap, snag the bonus point, and that would then allow him to come down to the pit lane. It's a move we've seen that Toyota make many a times. However, he is currently a race leader, so let's take our look top to bottom at our iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game with professionally organized racing by the likes of NASCAR and many more. At lap 104, Timmy Hill, yes, your race leader for the first time tonight. Started 39th on the grid. That'll probably change. Chris Shearburn at the moment, second, will most likely restart from the top spot. But at the moment, Bobby Zielinski is exactly where he started this race in third. Matt Busa, fourth with Michael Conti through the top 5. Keegan Leahy is the number 6 car. Logan Clampett is 7th. Ryan Michaeluza in 8th. Zach Novak in 9th. And Michael Guest to round out your top 10.
Casey Kerwin running in position number 11. Ray Alfala rounds out your top dozen. He's up 10 positions since the start of this one. Garrett Lowe quietly up into 13th and going about his business, trying to maintain that top 8 in the playoff positions. Ashton Crowder, Blake Reynolds, Corey Vincent, Michael Griglia, great run. Adam Benefield had a great qualifying run as well. 18th, Brandon Cattell 19th, and 20th, Christian Schallner.
79 of Nick Shelton is going to be in the 21st spot with Ben Nelson in 22nd. Kane Cook, after that incident, is going to be 23rd with Cody Bias in 24th. Jarl-Tien in 25th. Brian Schoenberg 26th with Malik Ray, Chris Overland, Ryan Lowe, and Jake Nichols rounding out your top 30.
Two more cars in this group are still on the lead lap. 31st position is Phil Diaz, Brad Davies 32nd, with Taylor Hurst 33rd, Dylan Duvall and Jimmy Mullis, P34 and 35. That rounds out your lead lappers, and those back few are working a bit damage. And then you have 24 laps down. That is Logan Kress in 36th position. Nick Ottinger 27 laps down in 37th. Nathan Lyon is 35 laps down in 38th, and Casey Tucker 69 down in 39th position. But again, still nobody has gone behind the wall in this Charlotte 300. That's but a look at your iRacing Midway Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, you can visit iRacing.com to sign up today. And when you do so, use promo code PR-eNASCAR 2019. It applies to new iRacing memberships only, but you'll get your first 3 months as a new member for just $10. There is tons of content always coming to the service, and Trophy Trucks is the latest thing up on deck. It'll be here shortly. So again, more info at iRacing.com. That is PR-eNASCAR 2019. Also now, as we begin the second half of the race, this portion of tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Blue Def Diesel Exhaust Fluid, certified pure #1 diesel exhaust fluid. So we did see dropping off from the top spot, Timmy Hill no longer in control. The field is back in the hands of Chris Shearbird. Once again, we all eye the 36 car at a turn number 4. 95 laps to go from Charlotte, and a good jump for the 36 again. Zelensky right there as they race to the gears to turn 1.
Consistent figures up in front, those top 2. We've had a couple of drivers ebb and flow throughout this run, but the 36 is Shearburn, the 18 is Zelensky have been those 2 that have mainstayed up in front. Michael Conti trying to move to that second place position. He's tucked up tight to the 36 of Shearburn. You ride on board with Logan Clampett for the third driver on the inside line, Michael Guest. Lining up on the outside and trying to give a little shot to that 62 with Keegan Leahy as they come back across the stripe. Shearburn will lead one more lap. It looks like Zelensky going to get that run on the outside and pull even down into 1.
Side by side, they are stacked, even on the inside, even on the outside, and we've made it a lap and a half, Randy, without somebody daring to go 3 wide quite yet. We'll see how long that stays true as the 30 of Blake Reynolds, right on cue, thinks about it, trying to make the outside work, but he's only single file to the 21 machine of Ray Alfala, so it'll end up 2 by 2, inside, outside, both very even.
Yeah, they're all really, really tight here as they roll in towards 1. The 18 is going to lose a little bit of ground, with the entire field staying stacked up 2 by 2. Now that we've lost Kane Cook, that third line really isn't becoming a factor. The 30 looks at it for a second, then immediately jumps out of it. I see one driver in the back sort of eyeballing it, not sure who that is, about 10 cars deep. Who is that up there? Ashton Crowder is going to roll the top off of 4.
Yeah, very good job by Crowder to try to make some noise up there and obviously put himself in a very good position. He's in the thick of things right now, currently scored in the number 18 spot and running at a little bit of a higher line, obviously with the 37 to Challenger there. He's clear, squeezes on through, and just on cue, the 37 also of Challenger drops down to the inside, and Crowder's back up on that very third lane. A push, though, behind him. He's got some help. I think that's the 33 it is, Benjamin Nelson.
And you saw that 2-car Kane Cook slide into your picture right there as he's moved up a couple of positions, and now he's in position to get that outside line, as Randy alluded to a little bit earlier, if he can get up there. Looks like about 10th on back or so. We saw the 14 of Casey Kerwin hop to the outside, and now Zach Novak hops to the outside. It's about 8th place or so as he's got the 17 of Guest and the 53 of Luza to the inside. They'll go 3 wide, and it looks like the outside making some headway right now with Novak and Kerwin.
There's a couple of instances of 3 wide, but a lot of it is here inside of the top 10. The 99 loses speed in the 1. It'll check everybody up. Luza, Low, the 21 of Alfala all had to get up and out of the throttle on the inside. Now 3 wide on the front row for the race lead, and behind them for 4, 5, and 6 as Shearburn holds the bottom, Zelensky in the middle, and a 6 Novak on the outside. What a sight to turn 1.
The 14 doesn't look like he's keen on stopping pushing, but he's not going to carry the momentum over the top side of the racetrack. Can Bobby Zelensky get clear? He already is, but can Zach Novak get clear, Bobby? He still picks up a run going in towards turn 3. The Oscar Mayer car can't quite get clear of Bobby Zelensky, but he's still working it as they come off of 4.
Shearburn really struggling at a turn 4. The car was so tight. Not only does he fall off for the race lead, he drops completely out of the top 5 now as Novak high, Zelensky low. Try to fight amongst themselves. See Kerwin, courtesy of the outer line, is able to get up and in front of Keegan Leahy to hold on to 3rd position at the moment. So 2 high, 1 low in the battle for the race lead. This may be Zelensky's best opportunity to get to the top spot all night long, and the new challenger in Zach Novak out of nowhere, leading that time at the start-finish line, started in 20th position in this race, and so close to getting the job done.
He started in 20th, but he missed the call to the green flag. He was a lap down in the early laps of this race, gets the free pass, and now he's in the lead position. Bobby Zelensky still fighting to the inside, but with that little bit of help from Casey Kerwin, Zach Novak is going to come back to the front, lead 1 more lap here, and put 1:14 in the book. Casey Kerwin is there. Is Ottinger going to go another lap down, and Logan Crest, those 2 vehicles off the pace, a little bit damaged. They're going to go another lap down, and the leaders are going to zoom by on the outside 3 wide.
Holds the bottom lane. It was a little bit tight to adjust your line just like that in the center of the quarter, but these drivers able to easily do so, and I think a nice move there, Leahy, to give a bit of room to Zelensky, but it is going to hurt the 18 machine. He loses that run, and very clear now this time by that Zach Novak has taken the lead in this race at marker number 116 of 200. First opportunity for a lot of the guys up front to breathe. 2x2 back end of the top 10 though. Alfala coming up on top of the 99 of Logan Clampett. A crossover to the inside. That is the 53 of Ryan Luza there in the mix as well. So anytime any single battle comes to a close, there is another one in short order to keep an eye on.
Talking about this fight at the head of the field, I'm going to go back to the Richmond race when we talked to Steve Letarte. One of the pieces of advice he had for his drivers is try to make it so you have a strong race car at the end of the night, because when you're quick, when the sun is out, when you know it's going to go down, things don't often bode well for you. I'm curious if that's what we're seeing from the 18 and the 36. The dominant cars when the track was somewhat warm. Now the sun is pretty much all the way down. We're going to be in pretty much pure darkness here in the next handful of minutes, and we have some new cars that are quicker than the head of the field, as Keegan Leahy is going to take the 2nd spot away from the 14. So maybe the 6 of Novak just better when the track is really cooled off.
Yeah, that 62 of Leahy has been up here all night long. Started 2nd. It's exactly where he runs now, but has never had that opportunity to get out to the clean air and to run away with this one. And now maybe an opportunity with the 36 of Shearburn having been relegated back to P5. That's only a 0.6 of a second difference to the top spot. So, he's still very much in it. Ray Alfala, fastest car on track the last time by, tucked in the number 6 spot. So the heavy hitters are there, but there's a small window of opportunity. The chance that those top 2 could pull away. Maybe this is the time that Leahy needs to take advantage of as you go on board with the Motorcraft entry, the Wood Brothers Ford Fusion of Ray Alfala. A good look at the 5 cars that sit in front of him.
And Randy hit the nail on the head. You might see some of these drivers that were running mid-pack maybe start to come towards the front of the field if they make the right adjustments. You see that battle for the lead up in front, though, with Zach Novak and Keegan Leahy. Leahy to the bottom line. Zach Novak going to fight back with that momentum on the outside line. But the 62 car wants to come to the front of the field and bring that thing up to the top of the scoring pylon. The 62 gets that run at a corner number 4, and Keegan Leahy will come up and lead at lap number 120, but Zach Novak going to fight back on the outside line in the Oscar Mayer number 6.
And just as it looked like those two were going to get away, this side-by-side battle is really helping Zelensky out as well, because it'll keep him honest. But there it is. I said Leahy may need to use this as his opportunity to get the job done, and he does it inside to get around Zach Novak, and the number 62 is your race leader now. Inside of 80 laps to go in this race, but Bobby Zelensky rejuvenated from P3. He's back in the draft once more. A top 3 breakaway, have a half a second of clearance to 4th on back.
And I think this 18 car, I think he's actually may very well be the class of the field, because we've seen Bobby the entire time Shearburn was at the head of the field. Bobby just sat there in second and just waited. Now, with a couple of other leaders in front of him, he's going to get a little aggressive, shows the nose on the 6 of Zach Novak through 3 and 4. Clips the apron, though, and that is not a smooth trip through 3 and 4 for Bobby Zelensky. He's going to shuffle back into the 3rd spot, but he's just sort of quietly sat there in 2nd and 3rd place all race long, constantly pressuring the leaders. The 36 gets shuffled in traffic and pretty much has lost the contention for this race lead at this point. Bobby Zelensky's still been there and is still now hounding the 6 car, who is slow off of 2.
He is all over him as this battle continues, and that's a good onboard shot there. You see Zelensky working the wheel as he saws off the corner through the bumps and tries to do everything he can to just trace the line of the 6 car in front of him. But let's look behind this group right now. The battle for 4th on back is where all of the fun is, as they are 2 by 2. It is Michael Conti again, good on a long run, trying to get around Casey Kerwin. You've got Alfala, the 99 of Clampett, the 36 of Shearburn, Luza, a ton more cars all in this one as they fight with each other. They're basically taking themselves out of contention. The top 3 are gone. They continue to lose time, but a lot of valuable points up for grabs in this group that is still, again, 4th position on back.
It's hard to find one place to watch right now. Bobby Zelensky was moved to position number 2 as they come up on Nick Ottinger, and this field that's battling side by side will come up on the 47 this time by, but the 8 of Michael Conti gets that run into the corner, throws it in deep, and will pick up that position, go up to the outside, and we'll see where they put Ottinger. Ottinger to the outside, and the field will move to the inside. They'll go 3 wide for a moment by the 47. Looks like Ray Alfala will fall in behind the 99 of Logan Clampett, and now try to go back to that second groove. The 14 of Casey Kerwin now has the 99 of Clampett to the inside as they battle for the final position in the top 5 right now. Michael Conti's been able to pull away by 2 lengths over this battle, and if they continue to go side by side behind him, looks like the 8 car might continue to build that gap.
And that's exactly what Michael Conti wants. You're getting to the point in the race where you got to lock this thing down, and always a chance that, despite we haven't seen it, you could be on a long run to the end of the race. We really haven't seen a single car end up on its own at any point tonight. And Conti kind of straddling the middle there as your top 3 have really started to stretch out. How about Leahy? Impressive. Made that move on Novak. Novak has also just recently gotten passed by Bobby Zelensky. So moved the 18 to 2nd, but Leahy a second ahead of him. The 62 car is checked out, may be the best car at this moment.
We'll see how long, though, because the 18 Penton some change quicker that last time through, but we need to watch this big gaggle of cars that starts with the 14 and the 21, who are wheel to wheel, with Ryan Luza challenging on the outside as they roll down the back straightaway. So while your top few spots get single filed out, still plenty of action to keep an eye on as they come down the front straightaway. And now it's the 2 most recent champions in this series go wheel to wheel, and Luza's going to win out there.
Another position gained for the number 53 car inside line, the place to be. If you're trying to make a move on the 14 to Casey Kerwin, he seems very committed to that higher line. And we'll see if now maybe the draft off of the 53 Toyota in front of him helps him out. The next challenger would be the winner of this exchange with Shearburn and Alfala. And you can see the 14 machine dive down low to try to help him maintain speed, but he just is unable to do so. Alfala wins the fight behind, darts up the inside line, and make it a battle for 7th and 8th spot. Very easy. Completes the pass on the 14.
And I think in this battle right now, as you can see them go side by side, a great example of comers and go. Ray Alfala to the inside, got a little contact from Casey Kerwin, and into the inside he goes.
Wrecked is the 21. The caution flag is out, and a costly incident for Ray Alfala. Going to make his season that much more difficult. The replay will show he just made the move on Kerwin, and cars have been pushing all night long, Randy, but for some reason that time the 14 skewed a little bit to the left. He just hooked the 21 car straight around, and Alfala hard into the inside wall.
Yeah, that wasn't really great. I mean, like you said, cars have been pushing all night, and the 14's been one of them. He just didn't really get flush with the back of that number 21 car and just sent him around. I don't think that was on purpose. I mean, I think he meant to get into him, but I think he meant to do it with the purpose of pushing him down the back straightaway, not to spin him out. But a big incident there for your defending series champion, and a bad season for him just continues to go worse and worse and worse.
We talked about how tonight, Tim, may be the time to turn it around. Kind of had his own little mini turnaround during the race after starting back in the middle of the pack and working his way through. And that incident is not going to help what was a 15th position in points coming into this evening for the driver who obviously expects to be a top 8 car and make it into the playoffs.
Well, Randy's right. It was turned around. It was just turned around the wrong way. It's tough for Ray Alfala. It's tough to see a driver of his caliber struggle, and it hasn't been his doing on a lot of these races, on a lot of these misfortunes. Ray is going to dig deep here in these next 6 races to get back up, if not to a playoff spot, at least try to get as close as he can to a playoff position. The drivers are down on pit road that are up there. Bobby Zielinski, I believe, is going to win this race off pit road. Zach Novak is closer position number 2. Keegan Leahy lost a lot of time on pit road, and he's going to come out about 6th or 7th off of pit lane, so going to lose a little bit of time there for the 62 car.
Second time this evening, he makes a mistake. The first time, I believe he was too far left into the pit box to be able to get serviced, had to back up. This time he was too deep into the pit box and had to back himself back up, and it is going to cost him what looks like 7 spots. Ottinger, Busa, Zielinski, Novak, Clampett, Conti, Luza, all in front of him. Shearbird also. So costly mistakes for what is undoubtedly a fast race car. Could be the difference if he's unable to get up front once again.
And we saw this from him last time out when Luza made his mistake at Kansas, got caught up in some issues. Keegan made a weird kind of strategy call at the start of the race, got caught up in some traffic. This could really, affect him once again. This is another great opportunity for him to make points up on Ryan Luza at this phase in the championship. And, just mistakes on pit road have really played that 62 car tonight, as Luza now finds himself, I believe, just outside the top 5, then 6th. And the 62, when it all shakes out, will actually be right around him. So, or actually, no, just a couple cars behind. So 62 Leahy from the race lead back to 8th. And the way this dirty air has been pretty nasty. I will say Matt Busa, he pulls the alternate strategy card again. Find him not coming down pit road just yet. You should see that 5 car down pit road, I would think, here this time by.
We'll see if Busa does come back in. We saw the similar play from him last time. However, I don't think he ever actually got credited with leading the lap because the leaders had crossed the start-finish line on pit road before he had eventually cycled through to the top spot. So Timmy Hill came around, stayed out an additional lap, got the bonus point. So Matt Busa, credited now as your race leader, will finally get one.
And he's bump drafting the 47.
Well, the 47's there, too. That's that same duo. Nick Ottinger will again go from 29 laps down to 28 laps down for the second time this evening.
I think that was just go ahead, Tim.
Just looking at that back there, though, he's 28 laps down. Logan Kress is 25 laps down, so you might be thinking, why is he staying out here to try to, he goes a lap down every so often on that green flag run, but he's only 3 laps away from trying to get one more point on Logan Kress. So at this point, you have to, and with Ray Alfala falling out of the race, or at least going to be on pit road with some damage repair, I think if you're Nick Ottinger, you got to gain every point that you can.
And he is in the 47. Ottinger is going to go up and around, and the 5 car is going to return to the pit lane, get his service, and drop back to the back of the pack. So, familiar face on the front row. Bobby Zielinski's been the constant, but he has been the car chasing for the last handful of them, almost always outside to the number 36 of Shearbird. This time, though, the Interstate Batteries Toyota, the Joe Gibbs Racing entry, is in control. So we'll see what he's got.
He had been the quickest car on track for just a little bit when he was reeling in that 62 car. So the 18 of Bobby Zielinski is going to be interesting to see. We know he's quick in dirty air. Can he be quick in the clean air? And can he maybe break away from what was a charging 6 of Zach Novak? Logan Clampett looked pacey as well. You also have, of course, Conti and Luza, who've been fast thus far up until this point. In the 36, starting on the outside of that third row, you know he's going to be relevant. Not a great restart last time. I think he's going to change that up this time through.
It'll be, as well as you mentioned, Novak on the outside, Clampett, Conti, Luza, your top 5. Busa it will continue to trickle down, so it'll be Shearburn, Leahy, Shelton, Kerwin, and Guest, your top 10. For a restart that sees us complete the distance that is maybe a normal race length as we close in 134 laps down. Still a long way to go, and still a lot can happen in the 8th race of this 2019 season. Green flag in the air, the outside, actually a better start. Novak beating Zielinski to the start-finish line, is going to give the spot back.
But Zielinski's going to get to that inside, as is Logan Clampett. Great run for the 99 on this restart. And keep an eye on the 53 of Ryan Luza. He's going to continue to roll through on the inside line. Now Logan Clampett hops up to that outside line, trying to bring Novak and Michael Conti along with them. Chris Shearburn, 4th on that outside. Keegan Leahy trying to get back up towards the front. Oh, up the hill goes Logan Clampett. We're 3 wide off of 4.
3 wide in the number 2 position. It's exactly where the 6 car doesn't want to be, and he's going to be able to squeeze on out somehow to get to the outside line. Stays in a good position, but loses a lot of momentum. So the inside now may be the better place to be as the 18 car gets pushed down the back straightaway.
He definitely does by the 53 car. I'd keep an eye on that 6, though, with him nosing ahead of the 18 coming to the green. It's not out of the realm of possibilities that he might have to get down to pit road and serve a penalty. The leader generally has to get to the line first. Sometimes the timing can be a little bit weird, but let's see if that 6 car may have to serve something here. The 53 Aluza still pushes the 18. Novak doesn't seem to be fighting to get to that bottom groove, so he might be all right.
So far, so good as he stays in that position. Luza going to maintain second. A caution flag now is out behind and on the back straightaway. It is the 55 of Brian Schoenberg. Slow and on the apron. That is where the incident comes from, but it did not start with him. Let the replay show the 2 of Kane Cook and the 66 of Jarl T, and 2 cars we haven't talked a ton about with the 66 and the 79 there. It looks like Tien just lost the handle all on his own. You'll see it here into the quarter. He's going to get sideways right there, and then the 2 cars got nowhere to go. Drives into the back of them. They have an impressive save, a fantastic save. If we can get it on board with the 79 of Shelton, but behind them, obviously not everybody else able to get on through.
And a great move by Dylan Duval to get to the inside. Brian Schoenberg, I think, was trying to get there, but he was kind of straddling the apron a little bit as you ride on with Shelton on this save here. Up, and look at that. He has that thing turned completely to the right to try to keep that thing at least halfway straight on the banking. But you saw Dylan Duval there off the inside. He was able to get to the inside and able to use that apron. The 55 of Schoenberg was kind of straddling the apron, trying to stay off. The 42 to the inside, and also the spinning car of Jarl Tien to the front of him. And take a look at this one here, because Dylan's going to go to the inside. Schoenberg's there. He's kind of hung up on the apron a little bit, and he's got that Jarl Tien car spinning in front of him. And Dylan Duval was able to get to the apron. Brian Schoenberg was not really so lucky, and a tough season continues to get tougher for Brian Schoenberg. Been making some inroads the last couple of weeks and last couple of rounds, but he's going to have to dig deep here in the second half of this one.
And a little bit of a split decision on the pit lane that time. Blake Reynolds was the first car to come into the pit lane. Guest, Cattell, Benefield, Cook, and some other drivers. You would expect those towards the back of the pack to come in because the consequences aren't that big for pitting. And, of course, you want the tires. But the first car to pit was Blake Reynolds from the number 8 spot. So we'll see where he ends up in the lineup of the 34 cars that are still currently scored on the lead lap. We'll see if this costs him, and depending on how many spots he loses, how much of a benefit those tires will be for the next restart.
Not just him, but there was a handful of cars that came down pit road, and that's going to be relevant. They haven't been that long into a green flag run, but it's long enough that the tires on those guys that have been out there are going to start feeling it just a little bit. So on this restart, I would expect to see, if we go green for a while, keep an eye on the mid-pack. Those guys that just came down, that got 4 tires and fuel, they're probably going to have a bit of a pace advantage and the fuel advantage if this thing ends up going green. You definitely are able to do this on one more stop, but those guys will be a lot easier on fuel, will be a lighter fuel load when they come down pit road for the final time.
And lights are still on top of the pace car, so at least one more trip around before we do come to the restart. So an opportunity to kind of recap and look through the field. But let's take a look, if we can, at the points coming into this evening. I know we had a look earlier on in the evening, but maybe for those who were just joining us, this is the 8th race of this 2019 campaign, marking what is the start of the second half of the regular season, because 14 of our races come in the regular season. And your current points leader, no surprise, is the 3-time race winner this season, Ryan Luza, with a healthy margin on everybody else. But we talk about these races becoming ever more so critical as this season goes on. Somebody like Ray Alfala, 15th in the points, with an incident this evening, wrecking out of the race and currently finding himself scored 35th and sitting stationary on pit road, less than ideal. Logan Clampett right there with him in the points, behind Alfala by 3, running 4th on the racetrack. The ability to maintain that could be huge. That result holds, and this starts maybe a claw back into the top 8 for the 99 team.
And you look at some of those drivers just on the other side. Malik Ray has had an up-and-down night, currently scored in 32nd. He comes in top 15 in points. Brian Schoenberg, we just saw involved in that last caution play, came in 14th in the point standing. So some of those drivers that are not necessarily on the bubble, but are almost on that edge, Evan. If they have a couple of bad nights or they have a couple of good nights, it either puts them closer to the top 8 bubble, or on the opposite side, puts them closer to that top 20 and possibly losing out on qualifying for this series the easier way for next year. So it's almost a make or break point. It's not exactly there, as you mentioned. We're halfway through this regular season. It's not time to push the panic button if you're some of those drivers, but if you're some, it might be time to consider just to graze it here after you leave Charlotte.
This restart will leave us with a healthy margin of laps left to go in this race. 59 laps still left to go. With the restart due up, second time back-to-back, Bobby Zelensky going to control the pace of this one. Zach Novak, Ryan Luza, Clampett, Leahy, your top 5. Still with 34 cars on the lead lap, and many of them are not moving. All 39 who started this race are still technically in this race. Many drivers sitting on the pit lane trying to get repairs and hoping that some other drivers wreck out of this one. But so far, no dice for the drivers who had earlier incidents much earlier on in the evening. The pace car, though, going to get down and out of the way. Let's see if the number 18 machine mixes things up for this restart. If he's going to go about on cue, there it is. Right foot down, and a good one. A green flag for the 18 of Zelensky.
I think he may be a little bit too far ahead, to be honest. We know the draft has been strong, and that's going to allow either Zach Novak or the 99 of Logan Clampett to get a huge head of steam off of turn 2. Look at the way the 99 closes the gap through 1 and 2. Down the back straightaway, he's got the run. I don't think he's going to get clear, but it's going to be a tight fight for your top 2 as they roll off of 3 and 4.
A tight fight right now for the top 7 as the 4-car line on the inside, 3 on the outside, and then the undecided duo of Shearburn, who's going to be forced to the outside with a sweeping move low by the 28 car of Garrett Lowe. So fitting that he goes on the inside line, but the bottom rolls a 2-car length advantage off the corner, but then that big 24-degree banking comes into effect. The outside pulls even. It makes up an entire car length by the time we get down to this end of the racetrack in 3 and 4.
Logan Clampett going to try to lead that outside line up towards the front of the field. The 6 of Novak right behind him, Michael Conti, and there's Chris Shearburn again. Still hanging out within the top 10, but not where he was in the first 100 laps or so of this race, but still within the top 10, still has a shot at this one. There goes Luza to the outside line, trying to make something happen on Bobby Zelensky. Zelensky still leads the inside. Now he has Keegan Leahy to his back bumper. Looks like Casey Kerwin and Garrett Lowe going to try to help him out on that inside line, but Ryan Luza going to try to make it happen on the outside line after starting all the way back in 32nd. Luza fighting for the lead on the outside line.
And doing a good job of holding his own there. We really haven't seen a lot of the bumping on this restart than we have seen Randy on the last couple of them. The 3 wide is still there. It's Novak very outside, holding the 8 of Conti in the middle, and the 28 machine, a Garrett Lowe on the inside line. But I wonder if that contact, that eventual wreck with the 14 machine and the 21 may have spooked some drivers from being quite as aggressive as they were, because I don't see them beating the back bumpers off each other quite yet.
Maybe just a little bit, but remember, a lot of these guys still on some older tires, so I think they're just being a little bit less aggressive, and that's why you're seeing that top line struggle a little bit. But as I say that, a big head of steam, Blake Reynolds shoved the 6 of Zach Novak just about past the 8 car of Michael Conti. Wasn't quite able to get clear, but we have 3-4 cars now running that third line on the outside. We're getting close to the end of this race, and that third line is starting to become more and more relevant, and we're starting to see more drivers jump up to it.
We've seen, I think, as many as 4 in this instance here actually go to the outside line. It's just a lot more difficult for, Tim, for them to be organized at the outside. They can't really get as close to each other as we're able to see the cars on the bottom and in the middle line do so, and really tight there as Leahy squeezed up a little bit, and it was almost a Logan Clampett sandwich, but the 6 of Novak using that third line to rocket into the number 3 spot.
You hit the nail on the head. You're running a razor's edge on that outside line, and you really have to be out there and trust who you're racing with, and trust really who's on the inside of you. You saw Keegan Leahy push up a little bit, get a little bit tight in the middle off, and it allowed Zach Novak to get that run on the outside, but now Keegan Leahy goes to the outside line. Looks like that second groove a little more form than the inside, at least up near the front. Ryan Luza led that lap. Hello, Zach Novak. We're going to go 3 wide for the lead down into corner number 1. Zach Novak trying to make it happen. Keegan Leahy, Casey Kerwin look on. It's back to 2 wide, but Zach Novak continues to get those runs on the outside line. Keep an eye on the 6.
It was the second instance of 3 wide for the race lead we have seen so far this evening, and it is Luza, now way out in front of it. Novak to end up second position in the control car off for the restart. Bobby Zelensky now needs to really get his elbows up if he doesn't want to fall off at the front couple of rows if we are to see another yellow. The trends and the lengths of the run this evening would suggest that, yes, that is going to be the case, and he is able to stay in front of Leahy for the time being.
Oh, car round!
Than a yellow.
Far round and in the wall. I believe it may be Logan Clampett or his teammate of Ashton Crowder. It's who it looked like. Oh, Conti is who it was. Car's very similar looking with the red, white, and blue colors. But Conti gets turned after he was having such a great night tonight.
And that's tough. He was in a very good spot and was running into number 7 position. He was right behind Logan Clampett. So if you're a 99 fan, you probably held your breath there for a minute, but you see the damage. I think it's almost a combination of that 36 of Shearburn being right there. You see, at that angle looks like the 36 moves up, and some of the other angles, it almost looks like Conti goes down, Tim. I think it's a combination of those two guys just giving so little space, and Shearburn really pushing up high against the wall to side draft, that when there was that little bit of contact that immediately split him around, he went back end first into the outside wall and then got clipped by the 27 of Corey Vincent.
Yeah, the Shearburn onboard's a great angle there. They're just trying to side draft each other. They get so close to try to get that run, and we've seen Shearburn on those last couple of runs fall back a little bit as you ride on board here. Just a little ways behind. There goes Conti spinning into the infield, and everybody trying to avoid as you look back from the 3 car, and everybody's just so close, trying to get every position that they can, as everybody, it looks like, for the most part, coming down onto pit road to get service to their race cars.
A long enough run that I think everybody was in agreement that time through that the decision was to come down to the pit lane, get fresh tires. In this exchange, it is the 62 car of Leahy who is the first into the box, and well, he has struggled many a times getting in there for service, but he was clean in this time. Let's see the race off for the pit lane. He will lose spots again. Leahy comes in first and exits in 4th position, being passed by Zelensky, Luza, and Zach Novak to the race lead.
I've talked about it with Will Vincent with the amount of open wheel broadcasting we've done for years. You have to be perfect on pit road in order to finish at the front in these races and come away with wins. And for the 62 at Keegan Leahy, it's been an absolute thorn in his side all night. 3 times we've seen that 62 car come on towards pit road and lose spots. Not once has he picked up spots, I think, on pit road here tonight. So the 62 car, the program on pit road has to get better, as he is just not executing and getting into his box and getting off of pit road quickly.
That'll shuffle things up once more. Would you be surprised if I told you that the 47 at Ottinger has decided to stay out, and he will go from 30 laps down to 29 laps down? He's not making any progress. He keeps losing laps.
He has a dream.
Obviously, he's got the damaged car under green flag conditions, so he's just trying to stay in that range. But I mean, you got to give kudos to him, and the 31 machine is there as well. Obviously not the night Logan Kress would have wanted. They're only within 4 laps of each other, so that's kind of an exciting multi-lap down battle for cars that are just toughing this one out. Again, tip of the cap to those drivers who, in many instances, racked out very early in this race. Probably could have parked it. I think in most races, Tim, if you drive a damaged race car for 150 of the 200 laps, you'll probably make up some spots because people just tend to not finish races. But tonight, I mean, they're still back there in the high 30s.
We'll add one more wrinkle to that mix as well. Ray Alfala has scored his 21 laps down, just came off of pit road, is going to come back down, I believe, and get some more damage repaired to that race car. But there it is on your screen. Still a little bit beat up for the Quick Lane Ford Motorcraft Ford. You look at it, though, Ray Alfala would be in position for the free pass. I know Logan Kress a couple cautions ago got that free pass award, and Nick Ottinger, 28 laps down. He's hoping for one of those cars to have a little bit more bad luck and maybe pick up a position and maybe pick up what would be a point, especially where Nick Ottinger is running and especially where Ray Alfala is running in the points. We talk about those bubbles, the top 8 and the top 20. Nick Ottinger can't afford any lost points that he can prevent coming in, because he was inside the top 8. He might not be leaving Charlotte, but he wants to maintain and stop any damage that he can points wise. But it's going to be tough with Logan Kress and Ray Alfala. But the one thing that we've seen here, these races can get a little bit wild and crazy at the end of these ones. So just under 50 laps to go. We're right around that window of the average caution count for this race. I believe we're sitting at 7 right now. Average caution count's around 9. So if it does get wild and crazy, hang on.
And as you mentioned, inside of 50 laps to go means that this final portion of tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Herculiner Truck Bed Liner. The tough comes easy. There is nothing easy about the end of this race, and I mentioned it very early on, maybe with the exception of last week. I think most of our finishes this season have been photo finishes, thrilling runs to the end, and the way that this package works out, and if the timing of yellows or the lack thereof is correct, we could be in for another exciting end to one of our races here on Tuesday nights, the 8th race of this 2019 eNASCAR Pecan-Free iRacing Series. The 6th car, Zach Novak, is going to try to get the Oscar Mayer Ford off and going as quick as he can in what may be one of the final handful of restarts that are left in this Charlotte 300. It's Luza to the outside, Zelensky, Leahy, Clampett, your top 5, as they look for the restart box, and the 6th car decides when to restart this race. Green flag in the air, and a very good jump for him.
The 53 Luza has the opportunity to get to the bottom, but isn't going to take it. So the 18 of Bobby Zelensky, he's going to take that 2nd spot in line on the bottom and will be nose to nose with Ryan Luza through 1 and 2. Now, the 6 of Zach Novak will have these two to try to hold off as they roll into 3, but Bobby's gotten himself into a good spot after that restart because the 53 chose not to take the bottom. The 62 of Leahy is there as well.
Right there, tucked up at the back end, the inside the advantage, and contact there is door slam. It was loose on the 18. He'll go to the outside. 3 wide for the top spot again from Charlotte Motor Speedway. The 62, look at this, Leahy pushing his way through in that middle line all over the back of the 6 car, and that may be the only reason why Novak's still in front, because of the shove from the 62 Chevy.
And look at Garrett Lowe try to come through the middle, try to squeeze into the inside right in front of Shearburn. He will do so. Garrett Lowe back up into the top 5. Blake Reynolds trying to put himself up here in this battle as well, right behind Casey Kerwin. Zach Novak, your leader, down into corner number 1 and 2. And now that outside line trying to gain a little more momentum. And I think this is the first time we've seen Cody Bias in the top 10 all evening. He's trying to hook up to that outside line.
You can see the 14 to Kerwin there got a little bit loose coming into the corner as the 30 machine was awfully close to the left rear quarter panel. So all of these cars, tight space, not a lot of room. You hope that, again, everybody can hang on, but everybody full throttle as they run now. And I think Leahy a little bit timid on making a move from the outside line, trying to give some extra space there to the bottom.
Yeah, these guys really trying to give a little bit of space, but still being aggressive
flag,
as well.
by the way. So the 6 car is Zach Novak is having a little bit of connection issues, and he has been black flagged from the tower. He has been given a black flag from the iRacing officials. It is something that is unique to sim racing, and you can see at moments, just for a split second, the 6 car was blinking out, and there he goes, dropping to the inside line. Zach Novak leading this race has to come to pit road to serve a black flag.
That's the first time in memory that I can think of that happening to someone leading the race. I mean, you can draw parallels to real life. It's just like if your car starts dropping fluid on the racetrack, you're going to get a flag and you're going to come down pit road and you better fix it or your day's pretty much done. So for Zach Novak, absolutely a soul crusher there for sure. But now at the head of the field, these guys don't got to worry about that, and they're probably going to start going at it hard as we got 40 laps to go.
The 6 car comes down pit road, serves the penalty. Still struggling with those issues. It is a provision, as I mentioned, a unique sim racing issue that you may have to deal with on very rare occasions, and I think it's the first time we've seen it used on a race leader, at least that I can tell off at the top of my head. The battle, though, continues without him. The 53 loses the race lead. Look at Leahy. You could see it on that shot. That was a great look, Randy, coming towards the camera shot in turn 3. How high up the hill the 62 is pinching. Very similar to what caused the incident with Michael Conti. Pinching high, but that's him trying to take the air off of the car with all the speed.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, Keegan's doing everything he can to try to hold up the pace of those cars up top, especially because he doesn't have any support on the bottom now. You look at that 14 car at Casey Kerwin. Look how far back he is from that 62 at Keegan Leahy, as Ryan Luza is now clearly out there in the race lead. Now, Garrett Lowe will drop down to the bottom and get behind the 62, but not a lot of help there.
Well, that's the thing. I think the later on into these races you are going to get substantially less assistance. Earlier on where drivers were pushing into one another, and I think a lot of that is selfish because you can't go anywhere with the car in front. So you got to push them to the race lead if you want an opportunity, to make a move for yourself. But as they run now, inside of the final 40 laps to go, this could be it. You got to get these spots now before the tires are gone, and a slow 31 car will make a brief moment of 3 wide. In fact, a slow 47 will be on the outside. So they snake high and snake low to get around lap traffic as Luza, Leahy, Lowe, single file your top 3.
Top 2 in the standings and top 2 on the racetrack now break away from the rest of this field. And this race has changed complexity once the lights have come up and the sun has gone down. Randy talked about it a little bit earlier where some of these drivers are more set up for the nighttime, but Bobby Zielinski has his issues. He falls out. Chris Shearburn had his issues setup-wise, and he's gone from the lead all the way back to position number 8 as he battles there with Dylan Duval and Logan Clampett. We just saw Zach Novak have some issues as well, so there are some drivers that are falling back for different reasons, Evan, but it looks like some drivers coming to the front. Dylan Duval flexing his muscle. We saw Cody Bias come to the front here a little bit earlier. He's just outside the top 10 right now, but Ryan Luza, Keegan Leahy continue to duke it out up in front and trying to get another win this season.
And Logan Clampett in the number 99 machine was just up there leading this race 6 laps ago. He has fallen to 7th position, and it may not be done yet. The 37 Challenger to the inside line. He'll try to make it work. The car gets tight. Not going to happen that time. But the 99 has dropped back and finds himself racing with the likes of Brandon Cattell, who up to P10 is now at a race high for him after starting way back in 30th.
In the lead, 62 and Keegan Lane gets a run going into turn 1, and he looks to the inside of Ryan Luza in towards turn 3 now. Keegan still has that bottom groove, but that 53 car just looks hooked up on the top side, still trying to force Ryan to the upper side of the racetrack, but it's not working. Keegan doing everything he can to mentally work the 53, but Ryan holding strong on the outside of the flip side tactics machine.
And he tries to hold on that right rear quarter panel. He needs the track position to be able to use the run at a turn 2. He gets it, and again, he's able to take up, basically that's an entire car length worth of momentum when you come off of the outside. Leahy was almost clear. Luza ends up nose to nose with him, and across the start finish line, it's going to be a dead photo finish that time by the lap goes to Leahy by 2/1000ths of a second. But the longer they fight side by side for the lead, as it looks like Leahy's going to get the job done, it was allowing those cars third on back to catch up. Lowe is only 3/10 back, and Kerwin also within a half a second.
He pitched it in deep to try to pick up that position, and mission accomplished for Keegan Leahy. He'll move to the lead position and pull away by a few lengths over that Ryan Luza machine. It looks like Corey Vincent will go another lap down here in the 27, but you look at the 53 of Ryan Luza on that outside line, trying to maintain that lead, trying to pinch the 62 car a little bit. We saw when they were side by side, the 62 trying to come up the racetrack and try to get a little bit of room to race and get that run off the corner. And now Ryan Luza trying to close back in on the 62 with Keegan Leahy, two of the best cars all season long here in this eNASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing series, and now getting ready to duke it out for the lead again. And oh, by the way, if they start going side by side, Garrett Lowe creeping into your picture in the 28.
Always there, always watching. From the number 3 position, I think Luza now dropping it back from Leahy. Last time we saw the 62 get this many car lengths out in front, he was able to really run away with it at one point. Got to almost a second of an advantage. It did start to get reeled back in, and there was a caution flag shortly thereafter, so we don't have a lot to look at as far as what the 62 is going to be able to do out here. But Leahy has been one of the better cars when he's out in front and in clean air, and inside now of just 30 laps to go in this race, primed and in a great position.
And actually talking about this, Evan, they're in a weird situation. They went to green with about 55 laps left to go in this race. They're sort of on the outer cusp of the fuel window, and not to mention that's a long way to go on these tires, longer than we've seen anyone go. So if we can run to the end of this under green, question's going to be, can people make it on fuel? And even if they can, how are they going to deal with the aging tires?
Totally uncharted territory for these drivers. The fight is on for third, as the number 30 of Blake Reynolds gets up to Garrett Lowe, and uncharted in the fact that we just haven't seen it on track, Tim. The amount of practice that goes in, not only with the guys in this race, obviously, but the R&D that the teams do with their development drivers to dial these setups in. They kind of know what they're going to get late in this race, but you haven't done it with these 38 other cars, this tire wear, and this current temperature on this racetrack. So you have a good idea of what you're going to have, but there's always that question mark in the air, as here comes the charge from Reynolds to the inside. Can he make the pass on the 28 low? Yes, he does. He'll slide up at a turn 4. There's the crossover for the Renegades 4 back down low.
Great move by Garrett Lowe to get back to the inside of Blake Reynolds and continuing to go side by side. Couldn't get the move done through the dog leg, but now Blake Reynolds will see if he can get that run off of the corner. Up the racetrack goes Lowe. Into the wall goes Blake Reynolds. A little bit of a scrape to the outside, and looks like Reynolds will pick up that position for the time being, but they're letting it all loose here in these last 25 laps of this race. You mentioned them trying to make those adjustments. They haven't had this racetrack all night long, and pretty much, Evan, they have what they have right now. Unless we get a late caution and everybody decides to come down pit road and make one last adjustment for that quick run, Everybody really has what they have right now, going to try to feel it out. And speaking about feeling it out, here comes Shearburn. Shearburn to the inside of Lowe, going to try to pick up one more spot and move him up to fourth.
It looks like Garrett Lowe not really having a good time in the HyperX Esports sponsored Ford on the long run, and gonna have some lap traffic coming out, so they're gonna have to yield high. The 36 moves up, and a little bit timid to do so, but Lowe does give him the position. Now he'll squeeze him tight, and well, that's Garrett Lowe just trying to make the 36 nervous, and it works out. He hangs on to the spot, although I'm sure that move was not well reciprocated by the 36 challenging, as that is a very wide 28 car.
Yeah, it definitely is. We've seen Garrett at the end of these races several times. He's so aggressive, and he's going to work as hard as he can to hold on to and pick up every single spot he can get. So it's going to be fun watching these guys work, as Reynolds now will go to work chasing down Keegan Leahy, who's a couple tenths off the pace last trip around the racetrack. So Keegan at 62, just so quick at the moment.
He's in a very good spot. 1.2 seconds now, I believe. His advantage is the largest advantage for a race leader that we have seen so far this evening. And you know, Blake Reynolds, maybe if Luza gets there and they start pushing on each other, they might have something, but I just don't think you're going to be able to work that super speedway-esque tandem at this point in a run. It would be a completely different story if we were talking about fresh tires. I certainly think that would be a doable margin, but Keegan Leahy needs to maintain, take care of that race car, and this time through, he is going to be 21 laps away from going to victory lane for what would be the first time this season.
That battle for position number 4 and 5 continues to heat up. Chris Shearburn was able to slide in front of Garrett Lowe, but Lowe hasn't been able to get the run back on the 36. Down the back straightaway they work, and the 28 of Garrett Lowe not able to get that momentum to make that pass back. We'll see if Chris Shearburn can reel in Ryan Luza ahead. It's about a half second or so up to the 53 car, and another half second or so up to Blake Reynolds. And Keegan Leahy, as you mentioned, Evan, continues to pull away a little bit, almost 1.4 seconds between your top two. Blake Reynolds has been quick, especially at the end of these races, the last couple of rounds, clicking off those top 5 finishes, what he needs to do to get himself firmly into playoff contention heading into the second half of this regular season. But right now, he's potentially seeing that win drive away in Keegan Leahy if this thing stays green.
And that is the big question, if. And of course, not only have we not had a run if we stay green to the end this long, all night long, but Randy mentioned being on the cusp of the fuel strategy could have some drivers being wary as well, and it's certainly making sure the crew chiefs and the spotters and everybody on the radio channel with these drivers are on top of things right now.
Yeah, because you're going to be looking all over the place, especially if you're someone like Keegan. If you're a crew chief or a spotter working on that 62 car, and for this race, it's actually Mitchell DeYoung, one of the premier drivers on the side of the service at the moment for sure. He needs to be doing a lot of work, keeping an eye on seeing if cars are coming down pit road, what the pit stop sequence is looking like, and even just looking at pace at some of these race cars. It's entirely possible there's maybe someone a few cars behind, maybe finding a little bit of speed and bringing that gap down. If you're Mitchell, you need to be going around and helping your drivers, saying this is what they're doing, this is where they're finding the pace, maybe they're rolling the top, maybe they're rolling the bottom a little bit harder. It really is a team aspect, and I'm sure the driver of the 62 and the spotter and crew chief of it really working together here to try to bring this home this last 20 laps.
Blake Reynolds is in no man's land into P2. He's over a second off of Keegan Leahy, and he's about a second up on Ryan Luza behind him. But Luza's not in a comfortable spot. You see that red car lurking in the background. Chris Shearburn is not willing to go down without a fight. He's right there, your pole sitter. Has been up front, led laps tonight, and at some points just wasn't able to get the job done. Slipped the back, is now charging towards the front, and the inside is open as he looks to try to make the move on Ryan Luza, who's going to use the outside to defend. And how's that for sharp contrast? That 21 machine damaged. Ray Alfala was a top 10 car 50 laps ago, and right now he currently runs out of this race down by 26 laps.
The good news for Chris Shearburn, he's got a little bit of a faster race car than Ryan Luza. The bad news is that if he can get by Ryan Luza, those two cars in front of him, as you can see right on board with the Letarte Esports number 36, they're pulling away from this battle for position number 3. Points that car to the inside. Once again, no momentum to make that move this time by, but Shearburn, if he can set this thing up, he might be able to take position number 3, trying it again to the inside through 3 and 4, but he's got to try to get up to those top 2. He's got a fast race car. I just don't know if he can get up there any more than this third place position, because Evan, time is not on his side. We're working lap number 187 of 200, closing in on the end of this race. If Shearburn wants at least to try at second, he's got to pull this thing off and pull this thing off quick.
He's got to get the job done shortly as we close it on 10 laps to go. Also, just an update on Zach Novak. Again, the driver that was leading this race, he has left the server. He has joined back in. Again, trying to get those connection issues worked out. All of these drivers are racing in from different locations across North America and the world. You've got drivers like Christian Challoner from, Club UK in Ireland. You've got Jarl Tien from the Scandinavian club. And, of course, everybody coast to coast in the United States, a couple of Canadian drivers. Those are factors that play in, and Novak will be lucky to finish top 35 in this race after leading in the second half of this Charlotte 300. Luza holding off Shearburn once more. Another battle you're watching now. Guerrilla and Adam Benefield both trying to get up on one of those Canadian drivers. Dylan Duval trying to hold the outside in the 42. He's had a little bit of a rough night, and the Simcraft machine shows those battle scars, but all things considered, fighting for a good result.
Yeah, we saw that 42 go around after contact with the 2 of Kane Cook. He actually gets a run on the 3 and just pushes them into turn 3. I thought he would have looked up the inside there, and that's actually going to allow Adam Benefield to make a move up the inside, but can't quite get clear, and the momentum too strong on that outside line for Dylan Duval, so he will know the head in the spot for the moment, but the 83 still alongside as they run in towards 1. So doing everything he can Adam Benefield here in the closing moments as the gap at the head of the field is stabilized a little bit between Reynolds and Luza, 1.2 seconds, and now Luza actually getting around, dealing with a 36 car still of Chris Shearburn, but Reynolds really equalizing the gap with Leahy and actually brings it down a bit that trip around the racetrack.
He does close a little bit, and I don't think Chris Shearburn's going to have an opportunity to get to second position, even if he can complete this pass for third, just because it's taking him so long. Blake Reynolds is now a second and a half ahead of these 2 cars behind the wheel of the 30. So Chris Shearburn fighting for a podium finish, a top 3 result would be great news for the 36 team. But again, Ryan Luce is showing no intentions of allowing that to happen. They'll once again work around lapped car, the 47 at Gottinger. A night to forget for the JTG entry, as Shearburn seems pretty committed, Tim, to wanting to find spot on the inside line to make this move.
But he hasn't been able to really get that run to make it happen to the inside line, as they're going to come up on Logan Crest this time as well. Shearburn committed to that inside line, but really needs that run to make it happen, Evan, and we haven't seen it in the last 10 laps or so. He's reeled in Ryan Luza after making that move about 10 laps ago on Garrett Lowe, but Shearburn hasn't really found any way around Ryan Luza to really make it happen for the long run, as gets the run here this time at a corner number 2. This one looks promising down the back straightaway, but can he hold it through 3 and 4? It's going to be Ryan Luza getting a little bit of momentum, and there goes Luza around on the outside line to once again pull even. I thought Shearburn had it that time, Evan, but just not enough steam down the back straightaway.
Evan, more opportunities as there are 7 laps to go in this race. I was watching the intervals to see if maybe they were going to be at risk of, dropping back and allowing the 5th and 6th place cars to catch up. That is not the case. Reynolds is now over 2 seconds ahead, so you can kiss P2 goodbye for either of these drivers, but they want to be able to get up here and settle this one out. Either way, we'll have an opportunity to chat with both of them about how this race will come to its conclusion. Keegan Leahy, still your race leader. Atop Blake Reynolds, scored in the number 2 spot. Lose, for the moment, the final step of the podium. But as always, the top 5 will be who we're chatting with. And speaking about the top 5, that's not determined. Look for P5. It's Logan Clampett trying to make a move on Garrett Lowe. And he's got a nose in front down at a 2, even in 3 and 4.
Logan's going to send it, but can he get the momentum off? We've seen that outside line be at an advantage late in this race, coming to 5 to go, and Logan is just about going to have the spot here for a moment. Can he do the same through 1 and 2? Goes to the bottom of the racetrack. The 28 of Garrett Lowe, not great on the entry up there on the top side. As they now come off the corner, it's going to be advantage to the 28 car working down the back straightaway. So for Logan, has to have another good turn 3, turn 4 once again as they come off of turn 4, and Logan's going to have the spot.
So Clampett completes the move. He gets up and around Garrett Lowe and holds on to 5th for the time being. Short-lived back down low comes the number 28 machine, and we will do the dance once again. This race, though, is now official. Less than 4 laps to go. A yellow flag would end it. Of course, you get to the white flag, it doesn't matter what happens. The checkered would be the determining factor this time by, as we are still door-to-door for the number 5 and 6 position. We will take 3 laps to go.
And they're door-to-door for third, too. Shearburn had this pass made, but got on the apron and got that thing a little bit sideways and knocked the handle off it a little bit. Now he pulls ahead a little bit in the middle of corners number 1 and 2. The 53 of Ryan Luz is still fighting back on the outside, but Evan, that 36 of Shearburn, had the pass completed, just couldn't make it stick to stay ahead of the 53 of Luza. Luza is going to keep with them out of the corner. They'll come by this time and see 2 laps to go. This battle is far from over. The one behind them is far from over, but Keegan Leahy trying to hold on and take that first win of the season. Shearburn digs deep here again.
Clampett has been able to get in front of Lowe, so it makes Hugo's job easier to keep the cameras on the battle for third, and barely sliding up, but in front was Chris Shearburn with inches to spare. Now they'll flip-flop Randy, the 53 to the inside. He can't hold it as we come 1 lap to go.
1 lap to go for Keegan Leahy and Shearburn and Luza. Shearburn finally gets the job done. So maybe an anticlimactic last lap for them, but I think that Shearburn is going to be a fan with that as Keegan looks keen on taking his first win of the year.
Last season, Keegan Leahy became one of only 9 drivers in series history to win at least 3 races in a single season, and finally he'll get his first 2019 final time at a turn 4. Keegan Leahy, race winner from Charlotte.
And becomes the 11th different winner to win at Charlotte in 11 races. Keegan Leahy puts on a show ahead of Blake Reynolds. Chris Shearburn's going to take that 3rd place position over Ryan Luza, and Logan Clampett going to come home with position number 5. But Keegan Leahy had a bad round a couple of rounds ago at Kansas when your points leader struggled a little bit. That was his opportunity to try to get up and make some points back. Well, he comes back, he rebounds from Kansas and goes to victory lane at Charlotte.
And he's celebrating down on the artificial turf. Keegan Leahy, a race winner once more in the eNASCAR Pecan Freeze iRacing Series. And for a season that has been full of firsts, how about this, Randy? The first win in this series for G2 Esports.
Yeah, and it's going to be great for them as Keegan does some celebrating at the front straightaway. Good to see these organizations that have come in, seeing a wide range of representation of who we've seen gone down pit road. It's a little bit flip side tactics favored, let's say, this season with all the winning that Ryan Luza has done. But Roush has gotten down now in towards victory lane, G2 and a couple other teams as well. But G2, I know, is going to be very happy with this, and I think Keegan's going to be excited as well.
We'll have an opportunity to talk with him in just a moment. Before we do so, let's look top to bottom at your Race Spot TV full race results. The win to Keegan Leahy, the margin of victory does get under a second. It is 0.944. Black to Blake Reynolds, who comes in the number 2 spot. Chris Shearburn, Ryan Luza, and Logan Clampett round out your top 5. We will be trackside with all of them in just a moment. Garrett Lowe, though, with a good result, he ends up at a losing end of the battle with the 99, but does get a P6 finish. Michael Guest is 7th. Michael Guerrilla finishes behind Adam Benefiel, who's P8, so Guerrilla is 9th, and Casey Kerwin to round out your top 10.
Christian Chalmers just outside the top 10 in 11th place. Brad Davies in 12th. Ryan Lowe in 13th. Kane Cook 14th. Dylan Duval in 15th. Dylan was up in the top 10 for a couple of late laps, but fell back in that late run. Taylor Hurst, great run for 16th. Brandon Cattell 17th. 18th, Ashton Crowder. 19th, Cody Bias. And last year's winner at Charlotte, Nick Shelton, going to finish 20th.
As we get deeper down the order, you're going to probably hear some names that are probably going to be thinking, what could have been? Jake Nichols in 21st, Brian Schoenberg 22nd, Benjamin Nelson in 23rd, Michael Conti after getting caught up in an incident, he ends up 24th, Jarl Tien in 25th, Chris Overland 26th, Timmy Hill 27th, Jimmy Mullis in 28th. Phil Diaz manages to finish this race, by the way, on the lead lap after starting one lap down. He comes home in 29th, and Matt Busa in the 5 rounds out your top 30.
One lone driver from there on the back finishes on the lead lap. It is P31 for Malik Ray behind him. 2 laps down, Corey Vincent finishes 32nd. Zach Novak 33rd. Most of these cars heavily damaged and or out of it. So Alfala 34th, Logan Kress 35th, along with Nick Ottinger, Bobby Zelensky, Nathan Lyon, and Casey Tucker in 39th position as a look top to bottom at your RaceSpot TV full race results. We'll take a quick opportunity to step aside, and when we come back, we head down to Victory Lane to talk with the G2 Esports' Keegan Leahy, your race winner for the Charlotte Motor Speedway. You're watching coverage of the 2019 eNASCAR Pecan Freeze iRacing Series on the iRacing Esports Network.
It's decision time, NASCAR fans. Who gets you the points? Who gets you the wins? Who gets you the bragging rights? Who gets you the championship? Sign up and play today at NASCAR.com/fantasy.
And back live for the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. You're watching the 2019 eNASCAR Pecan Freeze iRacing Series. 8 races now complete, and ever so more importantly, 6 to go until the playoffs start. But I want to welcome you back into RaceSpot TV's coverage. Evan Pasoko, Tim Terry, Randy Cheneth upstairs with you as we go into the post-race side of tonight's coverage, and we go down trackside to talk with your race winner tonight. From the Charlotte 300, it is a checkered flag for the driver of the number 62 machine, Keegan Leahy, with his first win of 2019 coming this evening. Keegan, congratulations. I know it wasn't an easy one, and I think a point that we made up here off the top of the broadcast was that if there's a single race where you could make mistakes and come back from a poor qualifying effort, that was tonight. And we saw drivers do that, coming from the 20s and the 30s to get up to the front of the field. But there was a lot of time for you to be up front and to make a mistake, and the 62 machine held strong throughout and eventually was able to run away with the win. Tell us about it.
Yeah, talking about mistakes, I made about 3 of them on pit road. Somehow, the car was super strong. That carried me to that victory for sure. I was happy with everything I did on track. I don't think I made too many mistakes there, but the pit road was killing me, man. I don't know why I picked tonight to make those mistakes, but yeah, got back to first. Got really lucky with lines a few times, but again, this was such a strong car, and yeah, got the win.
You talk about the strong car, and obviously those couple of mistakes on the pit road hurt you there. They, would drop you back to around P10, but it was close enough to the field that you never really got down and into the trenches. But what about that car was so good that allowed you to be able to get back up front? Certainly restarts were key with that 10 or so lap window, and you're flat out before people start to string out. Where did you feel like you had the benefit over others to be able to come back from those minor mistakes and not throw it away?
Honestly, I can't tell you everything, of course, but the biggest thing really was the balance. We just got the balance just right for the draft. I was able to hold my position and then just blow by people after a few laps when everyone else seemed to get tight. Kind of hurt me on that long run. You could tell I wasn't able to really extend my lead later into the run. Blake was sort of running me down a bit, and I was certainly trying there. And yeah, I just got too loose at the end, but it was definitely enough, exactly what I wanted to do for this track, and it worked perfectly.
We made the point when you were coming to the checkered flag there that you're one of only 9 drivers in series history to have 3 wins in a single season after you picked up the W's at Phoenix, Kansas, at Pocono last season. It took you 8 weeks to get to victory lane in 2019. Obviously, big changes to these cars. How has this learning process been to get back to this point?
I felt like I was doing the best at the start of the year, and I started to make mistakes in recent weeks and cost myself some shots at decent results, and ended up in the midfield where wrecks tend to happen. So no one to blame but myself for those. But yeah, I really like this car. It's really setup focused, which is kind of what I think is my specialty. Obviously, I think I'm all right as a driver, but my setup skills are probably what's carrying me. And last year, like you said, it was 8 weeks until I got my first win, but I haven't won since Pocono last year. That was like in the middle of the season. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've been in this booth, so been a few races since then. But yeah, I think this is my favorite win, honestly. It was such a strong effort from the whole team, and definitely paid off.
We're certainly happy to have you back up here with us, and you're able to deliver the first win in this eNASCAR Pecan Freeze iRacing Series for the folks over at G2 Esports with your win here tonight from Charlotte. Keegan, before we let you go, anybody else you want to say hi to?
Yeah, thanks so much to Virtual Racing School for being on the hood. I'm doing data packs for C and B Open, putting all my same effort that I put into my driving here. I do the same thing for the data pack, so if you want to see how I'm driving, you can compare to telemetry and everything. I told Peter, the VRS owner, I said I'd be disappointed without getting pole and getting a win today, and I got one of those check marks, and I'm totally happy with that. And I got to thank my spotter, Mitchell DeYoung. He was flawless tonight, and Chris Shearburn and Bobby Zelensky for the help with the setup and great teamwork through the race.
The total team effort for the 62 team. Keegan, we appreciate your time. Again, congratulations on the win, and we'll see if you can keep the ball rolling here with the second half of the season coming up. We wish you the best of luck, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks so much, Evan.
The race winner tonight from the Charlotte Motor Speedway, Keegan Leahy, comes out on top in the longest race of the 2019 campaign. Right behind him was Blake Reynolds in the 30 car, had a shot off for the restart, eventually slid back as this would have came down to the checkered flag, but it is a runner-up finish for the driver of the 30, and Tim Terry's caught up with him.
And it's a fourth straight top 6 finish for this number 30 team. Blake, what did you need at the end a little more of to try to get up to Keegan Leahy?
Clean air, man. I got within at a second of Keegan, and the car just wouldn't turn anymore. But yeah, I was waiting for that long run to get going there because I knew our car was so good on those long runs. And yeah, we got that one at the end, and I just passed Luza, almost ran down Keegan. That's pretty cool.
And the longest race of the year, and we had a couple of cautions in the middle. You talked about waiting for that long run. Coming home with your fourth consecutive top 6 finish, how big of a relief is it to continue the momentum, especially with a race that was kind of unpredictable in the middle?
I was just being patient, and I was just waiting. I didn't even know what to think in the middle of the race because it just felt like whenever my car got good, it was a caution. And really, I think what's been carrying us is the momentum, because that run at Richmond was, what saved my butt for the season, because I only had like one top 20 before Richmond. Ever since then, we've been like one of the fastest cars here. So yeah, I'll just go with momentum.
Coming in now after this race, it looks like you're third in the point standings, about 37 points up on that bubble position. We're in the second half of the regular season. Are you thinking points? Are you thinking that playoff bubble? Is there an opportunity that you kind of put that in the back of your mind and go ahead and race this thing out? What is the mindset playoff-wise with 6 races to go?
Yeah, the guys back at Team Dillon, we're pushing for playoffs right now. I think originally at the start of the season is just keep my license top 20, but yeah, we're pushing for playoffs with this momentum. We're hoping to carry that to Sonoma. But yeah, in the races, I've just, first part of the race, go for points. If we're running good, go for the win. And I'm looking forward to a win here soon. Hopefully it comes.
This new rules package has been wild. It's produced some crazy racing, but you mentioned it. A couple of weeks' time, we're going to Sonoma. What do you expect out of that racetrack? Do you think you'd be able to tame the road and get into victory lane, continue this momentum with the top 10 finishes? What is your take going into Sonoma?
I think I just need to spend some time, figure out a chassis that works well, and then, put the laps in, get some practice. I've always felt I'm pretty good at Sonoma, so I'd say that race would be a points race, if any. But if we're fast, then I'll go for the win.
Team Dillon Esports on the side of this car. Who else makes it happen and gets you to the virtual racetrack each week?
Well, we got Beneath Apparel as our main sponsor, and with our top 5 today, somebody is getting a free pair of underwear. So that's good. We also got Digital Ally Stock X, and we're partnered with Elevate.
And another great run for all those partners. Blake Reynolds comes home with a second-place finish, matches his best of the season. And we'll see Blake in a couple weeks' time and see what he can do on the road course at Sonoma. I believe Randy has caught up with the driver who led a ton of laps here early, Chris Shearburn.
Yeah, the driver that was probably the favorite through the midpoint of the race was the 36 car, Chris Shearburn. But Chris, something happened when the sun went down. You guys just didn't have the speed. Did you guys miss the setup for when the sun went down and the track got cold, or what do you think it was?
It was a combination of a couple of mistakes. The restarts, a lot of drafting involved in need somebody up behind you on the restarts, and I just I chose wrong there when I got clear of the second place car, and then we ended up 3 wide, and car was I tightened the car up that last stop or the previous stop, and it was just a little bit too tight, especially back in traffic. So that was kind of a combination of two things that didn't work well together and kind of put us behind the 8 ball a little bit.
And now this is the first time we've seen this new version of the Charlotte Motor Speedway here in the eNASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing series. What are some of the key differences of this version of the track compared to the one that we were racing on previous?
Really not a lot. Track still has a lot of grip, especially with these cars with a lot of downforce, and it's developing a few more bumps now than it did before, so it's still pretty smooth, but it's a little bit bumpier, so you can't be quite as aggressive with the spring and shock package, but otherwise it's pretty similar to the way it was last year.
Now, of course, a big talking point, we go road racing in 2 weeks' time, and not only are we going to be turning to the right, but we're going to an entirely new version of Sonoma, running the full layout as opposed to the classic cup layout, mimicking to what they're doing in real life as well. How are you going to adjust not only running a road course, but running a completely different layout for the stock cars?
I'm going to love it. I've been wanting NASCAR to go back to that configuration for years. I've never liked the more recent one, so I'm going to love the new layout, or the old layout, if you want to call it that. As far as how I run, I really don't know. I think I can do decent, but I'm not sure. We'll just have to work on it. We get an extra week off here, so I have a little bit more time to work on it, but I'm looking forward to it, actually.
Well, thanks for joining us, Chris, and congratulations on such a good night and at least being able to come home with a P3 and definitely being the dominant car for the first bulk of the race. Before we let you go, who gets it done for that number 36?
Well, first off, I got to apologize for Conti for the incident in the backstretch. I think we drifted into each other a little bit, but I wasn't given a lot of room, so I apologize for his night getting ended there. But I want to thank Letarte Esports and RacingJobs.com for their support, and everybody in Coanda SimSport, Keegan and Bobby for their help on setups and everything. Everything came together really nice for this race, and couldn't do it without them.
Well, there he was, third place runner tonight, Chris Shearburn. Probably feels he left a little bit on the table. But next up, we have to talk to you, a driver who did nothing but move forward, it felt like, all race long, even after an early race incident. From 32nd up to 4th, Tim Terry stood by with Ryan Luza.
Yeah, the longest night of the season. Ryan Luza comes home in 4th. Before we talk about the battle at the end, I want to start at the beginning. What puts you back to 32nd in qualifying?
I don't know, we just didn't have the qualifying speed. I think it was really evident in qualifying. Basically, the teams qualified like really close to each other. You saw all the Keegan cars were 1, 2, 3, and a lot of dead zone was together. And we were just in the back. But I don't know, we're just missing something on the qualifying speed. You're literally just going out there and not lifting, running around the white line. So it's basically just all in the setup as far as qualifying goes. So just need to do more work on that end, but still plenty of time in a 200 lap race to move to the front.
Had a little mishap early, but put that behind you and came to the front of the field. Let's talk about the battle that we're seeing on our screen right now with Chris Shearburn. Chris was determined to take that position away from you. Just barely got it at the end. Talk about the battle with the 36.
Yeah, I thought he was going to get me a lot quicker than he did, but it was $100 on the line and a point in the championship, so I'm going to go for it. But he raced me clean, and we raced hard for it, which is always fun. And it's really nice to be able to race with someone just inches off of their door, and he's one of the guys that I can trust to do so. So that's always fun when we can put on a show like that.
Keegan wins. He gains a few points on you. You're 34 points up going into the next round at Sonoma Raceway. Let's talk about the road course. What are you expecting going into 2 weeks' time? Can we get our fourth win of the season there? What are you anticipating for this 53 car at Sonoma?
There's about a 0% chance at win number 4 of the season heading into Sonoma, and I know that, and that's fine. But we're gonna try to go for a top 10. Not the best road course guy. I like Watkins Glen a lot, but Sonoma is so much more technical, and we're kind of just sliding around on these things, especially at a road course. So that's gonna be kind of crazy. And it's the long course, which I've never raced before. So just gonna try to not come up with a torn up car there.
So more testing going on this week, right?
Oh, for sure. A lot more than I've done for Charlotte, that's for sure. I'm going to really have to, even if it's the fixed setup, I just need to practice the track and, I don't know, probably put in just hundreds at a road course for sure.
I know you got some great marketing partners on the side of this race car. Who makes it happen for you?
Thanks to Flipside Tactics, first and foremost, and then everyone at FSR for the hard work on the car and the team. So big thanks to Jared Crawford and Derek Bordeaux for being on the box, and just everyone behind the scenes. And thanks to my Twitch chat for hanging out with me during the race. If anyone wants to check it out, I pretty much only stream peak races, but try to have a good time.
And that's Ryan Luza coming home with a top 5 finish. Great battle with Chris Shearburn at the end, but came up just a little bit short in the battle, finishing in position number 4. And Randy, it's an interview that I don't usually get to do because Ryan's usually up talking to Evan up front, so that was kind of neat for me. But you've caught up with Clamp Nation, Logan Clampett in the top 5 tonight.
Yeah, I'd be doing everything I could not to talk to you either, Tim. Evan's just
that's probably right.
Yeah, he's much better conversationalist. But I have Logan Clampett here stood by. Logan, it seemed like a stressful couple hundred laps for you. Every time we talked about that number 99 Burton Kligerman esports car, it seemed like you were 3 wide or getting scared of the 47 on a restart and having to go through the grass. And, you know, was it as stressful as it races it seemed from up top?
Yeah. That was such a stressful race. I'm so glad it's over. Thankfully, we got a long run there at the end instead of being super stressed at the end of racing basically a super speedway. So I'm super happy we got a long run there at the end. But oh my god, those restarts were just super stressful. And one of those restarts where I went to the outside for the lead, we got pushed up the track a little bit and fell back in line with Novak. Got a little bit of left front damage there. And just it kind of killed our car on the straightaways, but like I said before, thankfully we got a long run there at the end.
And you were one of those cars that was always sort of thereabouts, near kind of the mix, towards the front of the field, especially deep in this race on the restarts. We saw so many times tonight, you'd see the leader get a big jump and then see the following 9, 10, 12 cars just get a big head of steam and then basically suck right back up. How difficult is it trying to figure out and pick out which lane you need to be in, or if you should move up or move down a lane once those big runs, those big heads of momentum start coming in?
I mean, it was mainly the outside there most of the time. I know the inside there sometimes was good, but you really had to get clear up top because by around like lap 5 or 6, the outside started to just train the bottom. So that was the goal, to get to the outside there. I was a little bit tight, shorter run, so I led a lap, which is cool. I really wanted that. That was the goal, and then we just dropped back to like 6th or something because I was getting way too tight, and then got that long run and was really fast there towards the end. But yeah, the outside was the preferred lane there on the restarts, just because people on the bottom were just gonna get absolutely tight.
I know coming into this race, Logan, you were sort of in no man's land in regards to the battle between the top 20 and maintaining a license and getting a bump as well, and potentially even being able to run in the top 8 once we get into the playoffs. After tonight, you come home in the 12th spot in the points, is where you currently sit. How confident are you that you can get that number 99 Burton Kligerman Esports car up into the top 8 in a fight for a championship this year?
Well, hopefully we can have a next couple good races. I know the guys in the playoffs are fairly good at Sonoma, so it'll be difficult to gain there unless something happens. But anything can happen, especially with this package. It's insane. You saw Conti there. You saw Novak. You saw Ray get wrecked. Like it's insane. You saw Ottinger. So it's the night we needed. Hopefully we can keep it up. I think we gained like 23, 24 points on 8th. So that's a really good gain. Hopefully we can keep up the momentum and get some luck on our side here to be able to make it. I'm just trying to pay attention to the playoffs mainly, instead of getting my license.
Well, congratulations on another top 5, Logan. Your 3rd of the year. Who gets it done for that 99 Burton Kligerman Esports car?
Well, thanks to the Team Conti crew, first and foremost. They worked really hard on the car, especially Nick Ottinger and Michael Conti and Hastings, but just they did just a bunch of laps, and we tried to get the car as dialed in as possible, and it was really good. I know most of us wrecked out there at the end. They finished near the back, which really sucks. But thankfully, one of us could get a top 5 done there. And thanks to Burton Kligerman Esports for just all the support. Parker's an awesome guy. So is Jeff. It's really insane to be on this team. And you guys for broadcasting, Peak, all the fans that join in. You guys are just super awesome. Just get it done for us. And NASCAR and iRacing.
There he was, the driver of the number 99 Burton Kligerman Esports car. Evan, I'm going to toss it back over to you. I'm just happy to hear that Jeff Kligerman and Parker Burton are as good people as they see him on TV.
Well, listen, I know that those guys do have a lot of fun with it, and like you mentioned, good to see G2 at Victory Lane. Good to see our NASCAR and NBC friends having some success and clamping Asia with the top 5. But big thanks to everybody who gave us some time here post-race. Keegan Leahy for the win, along with Blake Reynolds, Chris Sherbert, Ryan Luza, and Logan Clampett for lending us some time. And it already we talked about how important this race was. I mean, we're going to kind of hit you with the same notes in 2 weeks' time at Sonoma. It'll be a completely different kind of challenge, but these races are big, and we saw some drivers who needed good nights get them. We saw drivers who were in the same boat get further into a hole, and these next 6 weeks are going to be critical. We could have a very different looking playoff this year that I think what most drivers would have expected.
You're absolutely right. I mean, we really started pounding, talking about the points this week just because it was halfway in the regular season before we get to the playoffs. And you're absolutely right. Some drivers picked up, great situations for themselves. You think of Keegan Leahy, Logan Clampett's another example, just sort of springboarding himself up closer to that top 8 cutoff. The exact opposite, though, I think the takeaway driver here is the number 21 of Ray Alfala, who's been having a bad season. Top 20 currently hold on to a license once we get to the end of the year, and Ray Alfala, 4-time champion, finds himself outside of the cutoff in 21st in points. So I don't know if Ray is eligible for a provisional or not if he isn't able to hold top 20, but the way his season's been going and the pace we've seen in that 21 car, and honestly just the luck we've seen that 21 car have, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities to see him outside the top 20 at year's end.
And I know that we all love the road courses when they end up on the calendar, Tim, but we are going to return to Sonoma Raceway for what is going to be the 3rd consecutive season, but it is a little bit different. We're taking the long way around Sonoma when we return in 2 weeks' time.
And you heard Ryan Luza say it flat out, I'm not a road course guy. I don't know how I'm going to do. I'm going to have to do some extra laps to get used to it. Cars are going to slip and slide around. I think we're in for an intriguing race in 3 weeks' time when we go racing at Sonoma. But you look at those top 12 in points. The big difference on this one leaving here is Jake Nichols is now in the top 8. Nick Ottinger is outside the top 8. So that's the only real change in the players in the top 8. Obviously, The points have changed a little bit. The gaps, the margins have changed a little bit. But you look at Jake Nichols, Jimmy Mullis tied for 7th in the standings, and the big thing that Randy mentioned, Ray Alfala sits 5 points out. Jarl Tien currently 20th on the bubble to lock in for the license for next year, and Chris Sherburne had a great run, moves him up a little bit, moves him a little bit closer on the good side of the top 20. So lots to do, lots to see, and 3 weeks' time we go to Sonoma. I look at a guy like Michael Conti to have a good run there. Loves the road courses. We'll see what happens, though, and see who does their homework over these next few weeks and shows up at Sonoma with a good piece.
209 points for Nichols, makes him the last driver in. 10 points behind him is Bobby Zalenski. Bobby Zalenski, 2-time defending race winner from Sonoma. So we look forward to that action. However, for tonight, that does it for us from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We do want to thank all of the people who make these broadcasts possible on a weekly basis. For our director, Hugo Louise, for Justin Prince helping us with background support, Alex Horde on the cameras, with Andy Werner, Simon Grossman for the broadcast graphics package. For your broadcast team tonight as well, for myself, Evan Pasoko, for Tim Terry and Randy Cheneth, we want to thank all of you for tuning in and congratulate Keegan Leahy and G2 Esports for getting his 4th win of his career and first of the 2019 campaign. We're off for a week. You can keep up to date with us between now and then by logging on to eNASCAR.com, but we will return on Tuesday, June the 11th for the virtual Sonoma Raceway. That race and every race of the 2019 eNASCAR Pecan Freeze iRacing Series going to be found right here on Race Spot TV and the iRacing Sports Network. Until next time, good night from Charlotte.